Alo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alo. Alo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Không, con đấy thì cứ để tiếng Anh. Con đấy là cắm thẳng một cái ca tai để toàn. Alo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alo. Alo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alo. Alo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alo. 5, 6, 7. Alo.
Châu Á là nơi có 60% cư dân trên trái đất sinh sống và đóng vai trò quan trọng trong 60% cư dân toàn cầu. Trong đó thì ngành chăn nuôi cũng có vai trò rất quan trọng trong nông nghiệp, chiếm khoảng 30% cái GDP nông nghiệp ở các nước châu Á. Ngành chăn nuôi châu Á thì đang đứng trước rất nhiều cái thách thức về dịch bệnh, về an toàn thực phẩm, về ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu, về các rủi ro thiên tai khác nhau. Vì vậy, mọi người rất mong đợi hội nghị này chúng ta có thể có các đối tác ngồi với nhau bàn cách để phát triển ngành chăn nuôi bền vững, nâng cao khả năng chống chịu, đảm bảo cả sức khỏe vật nuôi, sức khỏe con người và sức khỏe môi trường.
Livestock systems across Asia and the Pacific are deeply interconnected. The risks we face and the opportunities we have to make livestock production more sustainable do not stop at the national borders. Regional collaboration allows member nations, partners in the private sector to align priorities, share evidence and good practices, and coordinate policies and investments. At the same time, it ensures that the region's priorities are reflected in the Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation and that global commitments are translated into real, practical actions on the ground.
We are going to discuss the challenges and opportunities of livestock linked to the four major areas. The first one is about food security and nutrition. Second, livelihood and social development. The third one is about One Health and animal health, and finally, very important area on livestock and climate change. So we will document all the success story of livestock system transformation in Asia and Pacific, together with dialogues panel. And finally, all this information will come up with a set of recommendation how to really transform livestock system in Asia and the Pacific in a sustainable way in a broader context of food system transformations.
Sustainable livestock transformation requires a system-based approach grounded in science. One Health provides a rigorous framework to analyze the interactions between animal health, human health, and ecosystems, and to address risk at the source rather than reacting to crises. This means integrating epidemiology, ecology, production system, and socioeconomics to design preventive, resilient livestock systems. It also implies supporting innovation adapted to diverse production contexts, particularly smallholder systems across Asia and the Pacific. The objective is clear: generate evidence, co-produce solutions, and translate research into scalable, policy-relevant action.
Châu Á là nơi có 60% cư dân trên trái đất sinh sống và đóng vai trò quan trọng trong hệ thống lương thực thực phẩm toàn cầu. Mà trong đó thì ngành chăn nuôi cũng có vai trò rất quan trọng trong nông nghiệp, chiếm khoảng 30% cái GDP nông nghiệp ở các nước châu Á. Ngành chăn nuôi châu Á thì đang đứng trước rất nhiều cái thách thức về dịch bệnh, về an toàn thực phẩm, về ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu, về các rủi ro thiên tai khác nhau. Vì vậy, mọi người rất mong đợi hội nghị này chúng ta có thể có các đối tác ngồi với nhau bàn cách để phát triển ngành chăn nuôi bền vững, nâng cao khả năng chống chịu, đảm bảo cả sức khỏe vật nuôi, sức khỏe con người và sức khỏe môi trường.
Livestock systems across Asia and the Pacific are deeply interconnected. The risks we face and the opportunities we have to make livestock production more sustainable do not stop at the national borders. Regional collaboration allows member nations, partners in the private sector to align priorities, share evidence and good practices, and coordinate policies and investments. At the same time, it ensures that the region's priorities are reflected in the Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation and that global commitments are translated into real, practical actions on the ground.
We are going to discuss the challenges and opportunities of livestock linked to the four major areas. The first one is about food security and nutrition. Second, livelihood and social development. The third one is about One Health and animal health, and finally, very important area on livestock and climate change. So we will document all the success story of livestock system transformation in Asia and Pacific, together with dialogues panel. And finally, all this information will come up with a set of recommendation how to really transform livestock system in Asia and the Pacific in a sustainable way in a broader context of food system transformations.
Sustainable livestock transformation requires a system-based approach grounded in science. One Health provides a rigorous framework to analyze the interactions between animal health, human health, and ecosystems, and to address risk at the source rather than reacting to crises. This means integrating epidemiology, ecology, production system, and socioeconomics to design preventive, resilient livestock systems. It also implies supporting innovation adapted to diverse production contexts, particularly smallholder systems across Asia and the Pacific. The objective is clear: generate evidence, co-produce solutions, and translate research into scalable, policy-relevant action.
Châu Á là nơi có 60% cư dân trên trái đất sinh sống và đóng vai trò quan trọng trong hệ thống lương thực thực phẩm toàn cầu. Mà trong đó thì ngành chăn nuôi cũng có vai trò rất quan trọng trong nông nghiệp, chiếm khoảng 30% cái GDP nông nghiệp ở các nước châu Á. Ngành chăn nuôi ở châu Á thì đang đứng trước rất nhiều cái thách thức về dịch bệnh, về an toàn thực phẩm, về ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu, về các rủi ro thiên tai khác nhau. Vì vậy, mọi người rất mong đợi hội nghị này chúng ta có thể có các đối tác ngồi với nhau bàn cách để phát triển ngành chăn nuôi bền vững, nâng cao khả năng chống chịu, đảm bảo cả sức khỏe vật nuôi, sức khỏe con người và sức khỏe môi trường.
Livestock systems across Asia and the Pacific are deeply interconnected. The risks we face and the opportunities we have to make livestock production more sustainable do not stop at the national borders. Regional collaboration allows member nations, partners in the private sector to align priorities, share evidence and good practices, and coordinate policies and investments. At the same time, it ensures that the region's priorities are reflected in the Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation and that global commitments are translated into real practical actions on the ground.
We are going to discuss the challenges and opportunities of livestock linked to the four major areas. The first one is about food security and nutrition. Second, livelihood and social development. The third one is about One Health and animal health. And finally, very important area on livestock and climate change. So we will document all the success story of livestock system transformation in Asia and Pacific, together with dialogues panel. And finally, all this information will come up with a set of recommendations how to really transform livestock system in Asia and the Pacific in a sustainable way in a broader context of food system transformations.
Sustainable livestock transformation requires a system-based approach grounded in science. One Health provides a rigorous framework to analyze the interactions between animal health, human health, and ecosystems, and to address risk at the source rather than reacting to crisis. This means integrating epidemiology, ecology, production system, and socioeconomics to design preventive, resilient livestock systems. It also implies supporting innovation adapted to diverse production contexts, particularly smallholder systems across Asia and the Pacific. The objective is clear: generate evidence, co-produce solutions, and translate research into scalable, policy-relevant action.
Châu Á là nơi có 60% cư dân trên trái đất sinh sống và đóng vai trò quan trọng trong hệ thống lương thực thực phẩm toàn cầu. Mà trong đó thì ngành chăn nuôi cũng có vai trò rất quan trọng trong nông nghiệp, chiếm khoảng 30% cái GDP nông nghiệp ở các nước châu Á. Ngành chăn nuôi ở châu Á thì đang đứng trước rất nhiều cái thách thức về dịch bệnh, về an toàn thực phẩm, về ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu, về các rủi ro thiên tai khác nhau. Vì vậy, mọi người rất mong đợi hội nghị này chúng ta có thể có các đối tác ngồi với nhau bàn cách để phát triển ngành chăn nuôi bền vững, nâng cao khả năng chống chịu, đảm bảo cả sức khỏe vật nuôi, sức khỏe con người và sức khỏe môi trường.
Livestock systems across Asia and the Pacific are deeply interconnected. The risks we face and the opportunities we have to make livestock production more sustainable do not stop at the national borders. Regional collaboration allows member nations, partners in the private sector to align priorities, share evidence and good practices, and coordinate policies and investments. At the same time, it ensures that the region's priorities are reflected in the Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation and that global commitments are translated into real practical actions on the ground.
We are going to discuss the challenges and opportunities of livestock linked to the four major areas. The first one is about food security and nutrition. Second, livelihood and social development. The third one is about One Health and animal health. And finally, very important area on livestock and climate change. So we will document all the success story of livestock system transformation in Asia and Pacific, together with dialogues panel. And finally, all this information will come up with a set of recommendations how to really transform livestock system in Asia and the Pacific in a sustainable way in a broader context of food system transformations.
Sustainable livestock transformation requires a system-based approach grounded in science. One Health provides a rigorous framework to analyze the interactions between animal health, human health, and ecosystems, and to address risk at the source rather than reacting to crisis. This means integrating epidemiology, ecology, production system, and socioeconomics to design preventive, resilient livestock systems. It also implies supporting innovation adapted to diverse production contexts, particularly smallholder systems across Asia and the Pacific. The objective is clear: generate evidence, co-produce solutions, and translate research into scalable, policy-relevant action.
Châu Á là nơi có 60% cư dân trên trái đất sinh sống và đóng vai trò quan trọng trong hệ thống lương thực thực phẩm toàn cầu. Mà trong đó thì ngành chăn nuôi cũng có vai trò rất quan trọng trong nông nghiệp, chiếm khoảng 30% cái GDP nông nghiệp ở các nước châu Á. Ngành chăn nuôi châu Á thì đang đứng trước rất nhiều cái thách thức về dịch bệnh, về an toàn thực phẩm, về ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu, về các rủi ro thiên tai khác nhau. Vì vậy, mọi người rất mong đợi hội nghị này chúng ta có thể có các đối tác ngồi với nhau bàn cách để phát triển ngành chăn nuôi bền vững, nâng cao khả năng chống chịu, đảm bảo cả sức khỏe vật nuôi, sức khỏe con người và sức khỏe môi trường.
Livestock systems across Asia and the Pacific are deeply interconnected. The risks we face and the opportunities we have to make livestock production more sustainable do not stop at the national borders. Regional collaboration allows member nations, partners in the private sector to align priorities, share evidence and good practices, and coordinate policies and investments. At the same time, it ensures that the region's priorities are reflected in the Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation and that global commitments are translated into real, practical actions on the ground.
We are going to discuss the challenges and opportunities of livestock linked to the four major areas. The first one is about food security and nutrition. Second, livelihood and social development. The third one is about One Health and animal health, and finally, very important area on livestock and climate change. So we will document all the success story of livestock system transformation in Asia and Pacific, together with dialogues panel. And finally, all this information will come up with a set of recommendations how to really transform livestock system in Asia and the Pacific in a sustainable way in a broader context of food system transformations.
Sustainable livestock transformation requires a system-based approach grounded in science. One Health provides a rigorous framework to analyze the interactions between animal health, human health, and ecosystems, and to address risk at the source rather than reacting to crisis. This means integrating epidemiology, ecology, production system, and socioeconomics to design preventive, resilient livestock systems. It also implies supporting innovation adapted to diverse production contexts, particularly smallholder systems across Asia and the Pacific. The objective is clear: generate evidence, co-produce solutions, and translate research into scalable, policy-relevant action.
Châu Á là nơi có 60% cư dân trên trái đất sinh sống và đóng vai trò quan trọng trong hệ thống lương thực thực phẩm toàn cầu. Mà trong đó thì ngành chăn nuôi cũng có vai trò rất quan trọng trong nông nghiệp, chiếm khoảng 30% cái GDP nông nghiệp ở các nước châu Á. Ngành chăn nuôi châu Á thì đang đứng trước rất nhiều cái thách thức về dịch bệnh, về an toàn thực phẩm, về ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu, về các rủi ro thiên tai khác nhau. Vì vậy, mọi người rất mong đợi hội nghị này chúng ta có thể có các đối tác ngồi với nhau bàn cách để phát triển ngành chăn nuôi bền vững, nâng cao khả năng chống chịu, đảm bảo cả sức khỏe vật nuôi, sức khỏe con người và sức khỏe môi trường.
Livestock systems across Asia and the Pacific are deeply interconnected. The risks we face and the opportunities we have to make livestock production more sustainable do not stop at the national borders. Regional collaboration allows member nations, partners in the private sector to align priorities, share evidence and good practices, and coordinate policies and investments. At the same time, it ensures that the region's priorities are reflected in the Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation and that global commitments are translated into real, practical actions on the ground.
We are going to discuss the challenges and opportunities of livestock linked to the four major areas. The first one is about food security and nutrition. Second, livelihood and social development. The third one is about One Health and animal health, and finally, very important area on livestock and climate change. So we will document all the success story of livestock system transformation in Asia and Pacific, together with dialogues panel. And finally, all this information will come up with a set of recommendations how to really transform livestock system in Asia and the Pacific in a sustainable way in a broader context of food system transformations.
Sustainable livestock transformation requires a system-based approach grounded in science. One Health provides a rigorous framework to analyze the interactions between animal health, human health, and ecosystems, and to address risk at the source rather than reacting to crisis. This means integrating epidemiology, ecology, production system, and socioeconomics to design preventive, resilient livestock systems. It also implies supporting innovation adapted to diverse production contexts, particularly smallholder systems across Asia and the Pacific. The objective is clear: generate evidence, co-produce solutions, and translate research into scalable, policy-relevant action.
Châu Á là nơi có 60% cư dân trên trái đất sinh sống và đóng vai trò quan trọng trong hệ thống lương thực thực phẩm toàn cầu. Mà trong đó thì ngành chăn nuôi cũng có vai trò rất quan trọng trong nông nghiệp, chiếm khoảng 30% cái GDP nông nghiệp ở các nước châu Á. Ngành chăn nuôi ở châu Á thì đang đứng trước rất nhiều cái thách thức về dịch bệnh, về an toàn thực phẩm, về ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu, về các rủi ro thiên tai khác nhau. Vì vậy, mọi người rất mong đợi hội nghị này chúng ta có thể có các đối tác ngồi với nhau bàn cách để phát triển ngành chăn nuôi bền vững, nâng cao khả năng chống chịu, đảm bảo cả sức khỏe vật nuôi, sức khỏe con người và sức khỏe môi trường.
Livestock systems across Asia and the Pacific are deeply interconnected. The risks we face and the opportunities we have to make livestock production more sustainable do not stop at the national borders. Regional collaboration allows member nations, partners in the private sector to align priorities, share evidence and good practices, and coordinate policies and investments. At the same time, it ensures that the region's priorities are reflected in the global plan of action for sustainable livestock transformation, and that global commitments are translated into real practical actions on the ground.
We are going to discuss the challenges and opportunities of livestock linked to the four major areas. The first one is about food security and nutrition. Second, livelihood and social development. The third one is about One Health and animal health. And finally, very important area on livestock and climate change. So we will document all the success story of livestock system transformation in Asia and Pacific, together with dialogues panel. And finally, all this information will come up with a set of recommendations how to really transform livestock system in Asia and the Pacific in a sustainable way in a broader context of food system transformations.
Sustainable livestock transformation requires a system-based approach grounded in science. One Health provides a rigorous framework to analyze the interactions between animal health, human health, and ecosystems, and to address risk at the source rather than reacting to crises. This means integrating epidemiology, ecology, production system, and socioeconomics to design preventive, resilient livestock systems. It also implies supporting innovation adapted to diverse production contexts, particularly smallholder systems across Asia and the Pacific. The objective is clear: generate evidence, co-produce solutions, and translate research into scalable, policy-relevant action.
Châu Á là nơi có 60% cư dân trên trái đất sinh sống và đóng vai trò quan trọng trong hệ thống lương thực thực phẩm toàn cầu. Mà trong đó thì ngành chăn nuôi cũng có vai trò rất quan trọng trong nông nghiệp, chiếm khoảng 30% cái GDP nông nghiệp ở các nước châu Á. Ngành chăn nuôi ở châu Á thì đang đứng trước rất nhiều cái thách thức về dịch bệnh, về an toàn thực phẩm, về ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu, về các rủi ro thiên tai khác nhau. Vì vậy, mọi người rất mong đợi hội nghị này chúng ta có thể có các đối tác ngồi với nhau bàn cách để phát triển ngành chăn nuôi bền vững, nâng cao khả năng chống chịu, đảm bảo cả sức khỏe vật nuôi, sức khỏe con người và sức khỏe môi trường.
Livestock systems across Asia and the Pacific are deeply interconnected. The risks we face and the opportunities we have to make livestock production more sustainable do not stop at the national borders. Regional collaboration allows member nations, partners in the private sector to align priorities, share evidence and good practices, and coordinate policies and investments. At the same time, it ensures that the region's priorities are reflected in the global plan of action for sustainable livestock transformation, and that global commitments are translated into real practical actions on the ground.
We are going to discuss the challenges and opportunities of livestock linked to the four major areas. The first one is about food security and nutrition. Second, livelihood and social development. The third one is about One Health and animal health. And finally, very important area on livestock and climate change. So we will document all the success story of livestock system transformation in Asia and Pacific, together with dialogues panel. And finally, all this information will come up with a set of recommendations how to really transform livestock system in Asia and the Pacific in a sustainable way in a broader context of food system transformations.
Sustainable livestock transformation requires a system-based approach grounded in science. One Health provides a rigorous framework to analyze the interactions between animal health, human health, and ecosystems, and to address risk at the source rather than reacting to crises. This means integrating epidemiology, ecology, production system, and socioeconomics to design preventive, resilient livestock systems. It also implies supporting innovation adapted to diverse production contexts, particularly smallholder systems across Asia and the Pacific. The objective is clear: generate evidence, co-produce solutions, and translate research into scalable, policy-relevant action.
very delighted to have the participations from everyone from different parts of the world, different regions and countries. And maybe we will start, and I will invite you to briefly stand up to know more about you, which part of the world you are from. So first, delegate joining us from East and Southeast Asia, please stand up so that we know where are you from. Southeast Asia, please stand up. Okay, I see maybe 1/3 of the room is from Southeast Asia. Almost half of the rooms from Southeast Asia. Thank you, welcome. And those coming from South Asia, please stand up. So India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh. Okay, we have almost 10 delegates from South Asia. Thank you so much. And then colleagues from Pacific. Anyone from Pacific? Okay, I see 4 of you. Yeah, welcome, very much welcome. And we also have participants from Africa. So Africa, where are you? Okay, great team. Thank you so much. And our friends from Europe. Anyone from Europe? Okay, we have 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have 4 staff from Europe. Thank you. So, and do I miss anyone in the room? You're from any other part of the world, so please let me know. Okay, it seems that I don't miss anyone important. So it's wonderful to see such a diverse and global representations participants joining today, and it truly reflects the importance of today's workshop. And before we begin, I have some brief logistic announcement to everyone. So today we have interpretation. So anyone who want to use the interpretation service, please wear your headphone. And if you need any other technical support, please let us know. So we have the logistic team just outside the room and will provide the support timely. Thank you so much. Next, let me briefly introduce about the conference. So the transformations of food system towards sustainable and climate resilience is now a global priority and essential to achieving the sustainable development goals. Within this trip, the livestock sector plays a crucial role, and the Asia-Pacific region is at the center of the global livestock production, contributing significantly to food security, nutrition, and livelihood for millions of smallholders. However, the regions face major challenges, including animal disease, climate change, environmental pressure, and growing demand for sustainable production. This conference provides a platform to share experience, discuss common challenges, identify regional priority, build a shared visions, and define concrete actions for sustainable livestock transformation. That's why everyone convened today for this conference. And besides the 2-day conference, we also have 2 other side events. That's the AFCA Animal Production and Health Commissions in Asia and the Pacific, which is hosted by FAO. Yeah, and we have another side event. It's called the Africa Asia Bioscience Challenge Fund, AABCF, which is funded by the Australian government. So now, before we begin the opening remark, may I kindly invite our distinguished leader to take their seat on the stage for the opening sessions. May I respectfully invite His Excellency Dr. Phùng Đức Tiến, Vice Minister, Ministry of Agriculture and Environment of Vietnam. So Dr. Tiến, could you please come to the stage for the opening remark? Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I would like to invite Dr. Boni Moyo, Deputy Director General at IRRI. Yeah. Dr. Boni, please come to the stage. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Thanawat Tiansin, the Assistant Director General of FAO. Please come to the stage. Thank you. And finally, Her Excellency Maggie Keller, the Chargé d'Affaires from the Embassy of France in Vietnam. And joining the opening session today, we also have the virtually joined from Dr. Alu Dohum, Assistant Director from the FAO Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific. We will have the video recording from him later. So now may I invite now I would like to invite our distinguished leader be seated, and I will call you. First, may I respectfully invite Dr. Phùng Đức Tiến, Vice Minister, Ministry of Agriculture and Environment of Vietnam, to deliver his opening remarks. Dr. Tiến, please.
Kính thưa bà,
Distinguished Dr. Sibu Simo Moyo, Deputy Director General of INRI.
kính thưa
Distinguished
ông Tharawat
Dr. Tharawat
Tiên Sinh,
Tien Sin,
Phó Tổng đốc
Assistant Director General
Lương thực và
of
Nông
the
nghiệp
FAO.
Liên Hợp Quốc. Thưa bà Marie
Distinguished Ms. Marie Kelly, Chargée
Việt
d'Affaires
Nam,
of France
quý vị
Embassy in Vietnam,
khu vực
distinguished
châu Á Thái Bình
delegates from countries
Dương,
across Asia
đối tác
Pacific
phát triển
region, scientists,
cùng toàn thể
development
cộng đồng doanh
partners,
nghiệp
business community,
đang theo dõi
and all
trực tuyến.
participants joining online.
Trước hết, thay mặt
First
lãnh
of
đạo
all,
Bộ
on
Nông nghiệp
behalf
và
of the
Phát triển
leadership
Việt
of
Nam,
Ministry of
tôi xin gửi
Agriculture and Environment of Vietnam,
mừng
I would
vui
like to extend my warm
và lời
welcome
cảm ơn
and
chân thành tới
express
quý vị
my
đại biểu
sincere
đã có mặt
appreciation to
tại
all
đây
distinguished
hiện
delegates here
tại
in person
trên
and
kênh
online
tham dự hội nghị
for
khu vực
attending the regional
chuyển
conference
đổi chăn nuôi bền
on
vững
sustainable
trong hệ thống
livestock
lương thực, thực
transformation
phẩm
for
tại
food
châu Á Thái
systems
Bình
in
Dương.
Asia and the Pacific.
Sự hiện diện
Your
của
presence
quý vị đại biểu từ các quốc gia
representing
trong khu vực
countries across
và
the
các đối tác phát
region,
triển,
development
các
partners,
tổ chức quốc tế,
international
các viện
organizations,
nghiên cứu,
research
hiệp hội,
institutions,
hiệp hội và cộng đồng
associations,
doanh nghiệp
and the business
cho thấy sự
community
quan tâm
demonstrate
ngày càng
the
lớn
growing
và
interest
cộng
of
đồng
the
quốc tế
international communities
đối với tương lai
in the
của ngành
future
chăn nuôi
of the livestock
và
sector
vai trò
and its role
trong quá trình
in the
chuyển đổi hệ thống
transformation
lương thực,
of
thực phẩm
global
toàn cầu.
food systems.
Thưa quý vị đại biểu,
Distinguished
hệ thống lương thực,
delegates,
thực phẩm
global
toàn cầu
food systems
đang đứng trước
are
những
at
hoạt
a
động
historic
lịch sử.
turning point.
Thế giới
The
cần
world
đảm bảo an
must
ninh lương thực
ensure the food
và dinh dưỡng
security and
cho gần 10
nutrition
tỷ
for
người
nearly 10 billion
vào năm
people by
2050.
2050.
Trong khi biến đổi khí
While
hậu,
climate change,
suy giảm
natural
tài nguyên
resource
thiên nhiên
degradation,
và những cú
and
sốc
global shocks
toàn cầu đang đặt ra nhiều
pose
thách thức
significant
đối với sản xuất
challenges
nông nghiệp
to
và
agricultural
bảo vệ
production
môi trường.
and
Trong quá
environmental
trình
protection.
chuyển đổi đó,
In
ngành
this
chăn nuôi
transformation
với vai
process,
trò
the
đặc biệt
livestock
quan trọng.
sector
Chăn
plays
nuôi không
an
chỉ cung cấp
important role.
protein dinh
Livestock
dưỡng
not only
cho
provides
dinh dưỡng
essential
của
protein for billions of
người,
people,
còn là sinh
but
kế
also serves
trăm triệu nông
as
dân
a livelihood
cả
for
nước.
hundreds of millions of farmers
Châu Á Thái
worldwide.
Bình Dương,
Asia and the Pacific,
nơi
the home
sinh
to
sống của
nearly
gần
60%
60%
of the
dân
global
toàn cầu,
population,
đang trong quá
is
trình chuyển
undergoing
đổi
a
hệ thống nông
transformation
nghiệp
of
thực
its
phẩm,
agricultural and
trong
food
đó chăn nuôi đóng
systems,
vai trò quan trọng
where
trong
livestock
kinh tế
play a
khu vực.
critical role in the regional economy,
Tới
contributing
30%
between 18 to 30% of the
Tuy
agricultural
vậy,
GDP.
các
However,
hệ thống chăn nuôi
livestock
đang
systems
phải đối mặt
are facing challenges
với những thách thức
related to
liên quan đến biến đổi
climate change,
môi trường, thay
environment,
đổi nhu cầu của con
changing
người,
consumer
tiêu
demand,
dùng,
as well as pressure
về đất
on
đai
land
và nguồn
and
nước.
water
Chính
resources.
vì vậy,
Therefore,
cách thức chúng ta
how
sản
we
xuất,
produce,
quản lý và phát triển
manage,
chăn
and
nuôi
develop livestock
trong
sector
những thập kỷ
in
tới
the
sẽ
coming
góp phần
decades
quyết định
will significantly
tốc độ thành công
determine the
quá trình
success
chuyển đổi
of the
hệ thống
global
lương
food
thực,
systems
thực phẩm toàn cầu.
transformation.
Chuyển đổi chăn nuôi bền
Sustainable
vững
livestock transformation
không chỉ là
is
yêu
not
cầu
only a
của từng quốc
requirement
gia
for individual
trách nhiệm
countries, but also a
chung
shared global
của
responsibilities
toàn cầu trong việc đảm
to
bảo an ninh
ensure
lương
the
thực, dinh
food
dưỡng và phát triển
and
bền vững.
nutrition security and
Sự hợp
sustainable
tác quốc tế
development.
ngày
That's
càng
why
sâu rộng.
deepening international
Nước,
cooperation among
tổ chức quốc
countries,
tế,
international organizations,
các bên
and
liên quan
stakeholders
chính là nền
is
tảng
the
thúc đẩy
foundation for
đổi
promoting
mới sáng tạo chuyển đổi
innovation technology transfer, capacity building in the livestock sector across the region. Ladies and gentlemen, in Vietnam, livestock is one of the key pillars of the agricultural sector, contributing to 37% to the total agricultural production value and providing livelihoods for millions of farming households. And ladies and gentlemen, with a value of $35 billion, the livestock sector is one of the key pillars of agriculture. Besides crop production, fisheries, and livestock play a critical role, especially to contribute to the growth opportunity, so that we can achieve a 4.5 to 5.93% in 2023 and in 2025. And despite major challenges, but we achieve growth of 4.5%. In recent years, Vietnam's livestock sector has undergone a strong transition from small-scale production to large-scale commercial production, with increased application of science, technology, and development along value chains. Currently, Vietnam is producing 31 million head of pigs, and in 1 year, we slaughter 51 million pigs and poultries of 600 million birds. And each year, we slaughtered 2 billion birds, with a total meat production in 2025 is 8.6 million tons per year, and Vietnam is now among the countries with a fast-growing and dynamic livestock sector, and is one of the major feed production hubs in the region. And besides the meat production, we also have we produce 21.5 billion eggs and 25 million mixed feed, and regardless of aquaculture of 59 million tons, and together with 1.3 million tons of milk. However, today I would say that the fast-growing pace with a large production scale, but small production scale also account for a major proportion, and diseases causing through tourism, cross-border trade is still evolving and posing a major challenges. Drawing from Vietnam's development experience as well as international lessons, transforming food systems towards transparency, accountability, and sustainability is no longer an option, but an urgent necessity of our time. I believe that livestock transformation in the coming period is imperative and should be driven by 3 key strategic directions. Ladies and gentlemen, Vietnam issues a series of resolutions, Resolution 57 on science, technology, innovation, and national transformation, digital transformation, and Decision 68 on the private sector's engagement. And these 2 resolutions were implemented with bold actions together with other resolutions and old economy, education, training, and international integration, and policy formulation. And we need to we need to keep pace with extensive international regional integration, and otherwise we would be left behind. And first, science, technology, innovation, and digital transformation must become the central drivers of livestock development. The development of high-performance breeds, precision nutrition, application of biotechnology and digital technologies, smart management systems, and data-driven governance will enhance productivity and competitiveness of the sector. So we have a legal framework for the livestock sector, that is livestock laws and subordinate decrees and strategies and plans which were approved by our Prime Minister. And if we do not transform digitally and apply our livestock value chain transparent, and it is also the barriers for international and regional integration as well as to livestock products to other markets. Livestock development is closely linked with strengthening biosecurity and One Health approach, building modern veterinary systems and enhancing diseases surveillance are critical to protect human, animal, and ecosystem health. As we know, that 70% of zoonotic diseases in the early years of 21st centuries, international organizations, FAO and WA also provide warnings on zoonosis, and we see that a number of dangerous pandemics occurring globally, and also if we want to develop livestock sector, animal health are key measures, and in Vietnam we established three security, biosecurity farms, and then we need to strengthen the biosecurity, traceability from material and inputs to processing and to the dining table as well as to international market. And this is a very imperative requirement. The One Health approach, we highly value this approach, and a number of measures and strategies. The One Health have been implemented in Vietnam, and Vietnam pioneer, and we have achieved positive outcomes. And thirdly, livestock has become part of climate solution and improve livelihoods through the development of green livestock models, circular economy approaches, and effective waste management to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So through green and digital transformation, the two transformation which are really critical in developing livestock and agricultural development, that is a circular economy, that is a reduced emission, and that is a green and circular economy, are the key pillars and major strategic direction for agriculture in general and livestock development in Vietnam in particular. So it can be said that transforming livestock today lays a critical foundation for building a more sustainable, inclusive, and resilient food system in the future. Distinguished delegates, the livestock sector of the future is not only about
và có trách nhiệm hơn
với con người for both the people and the planet. And this conference, I expect that we will focus on
thảo luận
first engaging in frank discussion to clearly identify the policy, financial, and technical bottlenecks across countries. For the policies, we also issued the central resolutions, and recently in 2025, and we have done about where animal health and livestock laws were amended, audited, and series of decrees and circulars are consistent to two tiers of local system and removing barriers, and during period of 2026 and 2030. In ministries, we will amend comprehensively the legal framework so that it can be aligned with the two-tier local governance system and to match with the system and in the context of international regional integration, and to meet the criteria of a circular green economy, digital and green transformation. Those are important goals, and we need to expedite and accelerate so that we can realize the major direction as well as to strengthen the integration of all sectors in general and the livestock sector in particular. So secondly, sharing and scaling up successful practical solutions for sustainable livestock development, and thirdly, harmonizing regional standards and regulations to facilitate investment flows and agricultural trade. It is really essential, and we have participated in a number of regional and international agreements, and I think that this is a very good condition for extensive integration with countries and continents, and fourthly, a key priority initiating the development of joint regional cooperation program for sustainable livestock development in Asia Pacific. I would encourage all speakers and delegates to focus on practical, highly applicable solutions that are well suited to the region's specific conditions. It reaffirms
cam kết
its
sẵn sàng là
commitment
đối tác
to
tin
be
cậy,
a trusted
là cầu
partner
nối,
and
chuyển
agreed
giao công nghệ
for technology
và chia sẻ
transfer
kinh nghiệm
and a
để
contributor
cùng xây
of
dựng
experience in
một ngành chăn
building
nuôi hiện
a
đại,
model,
minh bạch, có
transparent,
trách nhiệm và
responsible,
bền vững.
and sustainable
Báo
livestock
cáo các
sector.
vị đại biểu là
Ladies and
chúng tôi là
gentlemen,
một trong
and we
các
are
quốc gia
one
của
of
ASEAN
the countries
với
in
quy mô
ASEAN
trên
with a
600 triệu người.
scale of
Cho nên
600
là đối Việt Nam cũng là một trong những
million population, and
quốc
Vietnam
gia
is
mở
one
cửa
of the countries that
sâu rộng vào
open
ASEAN.
extensively into
Kính thưa
ASEAN.
các quý vị đại biểu,
Ladies and
Việt Nam
gentlemen,
tái khẳng định
Vietnam
cam kết như tôi đã
reaffirms
vừa
its
nói,
commitment, as I
và
just mentioned.
chúng ta muốn xây dựng một cái ngành chăn
We
nuôi
need to develop a
hội nhập sâu,
livestock sector,
bền vững, có trách nhiệm.
sustainable, responsible
Với tinh thần
sector.
đó, tôi
With that
tuyên bố
spirit,
khai mạc
I
hội
hereby
nghị khu vực
declare the
về
opening
chuyển
of
đổi
the
chăn nuôi
regional conference
bền
on
vững
sustainable
trong hệ
livestock
thống lương thực,
transformation
thực phẩm
for the food
tại châu
systems
Á, Thái
in
Bình Dương.
Asia and the Pacific.
Xin kính chúc quý vị đại
I
biểu
wish all
sức
delegates
khỏe,
with
hạnh
health
phúc,
and
chúc hội nghị
happiness,
thành công tốt đẹp.
and
Xin trân
I
trọng cảm
wish
ơn.
the conference a very success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Minister, for your insightful remarks and for highlighting three strategic directions for sustainable livestock development, science, technology, and digital transformation, strengthening biosecurity and adopting the One Health approach, and positioning livestock as a part of climate solutions and livelihood improvement. Thank you again for your leadership and guidance. And now it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Boni Moyo, the Deputy Director General
Tiến sĩ Sinbonio Moyo, Phó Tổng Giám đốc Viện Nghiên cứu Chăn nuôi Quốc tế.
Thank you very much, Chair. Your Excellency, Vice Minister of Agriculture and Environment of Vietnam, Dr. Phung Duc Thien, Assistant Director General, Chief Veterinarian, and Director of the Animal Production and Health Division of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, Dr. Thanawat Tenzin, Ms. Marie Keller, Chargé d'Affaires at the French Embassy, representing His Excellency, the French Ambassador to Vietnam. CIRAD Regional Director for Continental Southeast Asia, Francois Roger, Assistant Director General of the International Livestock Research Institute, Dr. Shirley Tarawali. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my privilege and honor this morning to give these opening remarks. I bring you warm greetings from ILRI's Director General, Professor Apollone Chikeng, and the entire ILRI family. On behalf of the International Livestock Research Institute, ILRI, I would like to thank the government of Vietnam, particularly the Ministry of Agriculture and Environment, for hosting this important event on sustainable livestock transformation for food systems in Asia and the Pacific. We greatly appreciate the long-standing collaboration between the government and ILRI over many decades. I would also like to acknowledge our partners, FAO and CIRAD, and all other organizations and institutions that helped bring together such a diverse group of stakeholders from across the region. The strong participation, ladies and gentlemen, this morning from governments, research institutions, universities, development partners, regional organizations, and the private sector reflects the growing recognition that the future of food systems in this region will depend in part on how livestock systems evolve in the years ahead. It also highlights the diverse roles that each of our institutions represented here and those that are not here must play in shaping this transition. With the 25 countries represented here in this conference, it offers an important opportunity for shared learning, exchange of experiences, and engagement among stakeholders across the region. Bringing these voices together allows us to better understand both the challenges and opportunities ahead, and also to strengthen the collaboration needed to move the transformation agenda forward. At ILRI, I would like to highlight that the International Livestock Research Institute is a global research organization dedicated mainly to improving food and nutrition security, livelihoods, and environmental sustainability through livestock research and innovations. As part of the CGR, a global research partnership, ILRI works with diverse partners across Africa and Asia to generate scientific evidence and practical solutions that support more productive, resilient, and sustainable livestock systems, particularly focusing on smallholder farmers. Asia is a critical region for ILRI and our partners, given the scale and diversity of its livestock systems. Over the past 2 decades, ILRI has developed strong partnerships across the region with governments, national research institutions, universities, development partners, and the private sector. For example, in Vietnam, here, ILRI has maintained a presence for nearly 20 years, working with national and regional partners on areas that include animal health, One Health, food safety, climate-smart livestock systems, delivering genetic gains, animal feed resources, and livestock value chains. This conference provides a valuable platform to bring together different voices, including policymakers, scientists, development partners, and private sector actors, so that we can exchange experiences and identify practical pathways for livestock transformation. Over the next 2 days, ladies and gentlemen, discussions will help identify shared priorities, innovative solutions, and opportunities for stronger regional collaboration while strengthening the links between scientific knowledge, policy, and investment. We also wish to use these 2 days to identify concrete actions and solutions to support sustainable livestock transformation in the region. All of us remain committed to working with partners across Asia and the Pacific to support innovation, strengthen research collaboration, and advance sustainable livestock transformation in the region. We hope this conference will help strengthen that partnership and collaboration. I also want to highlight that alongside this conference, ILRI is hosting the Africa-Asia Bioscience Challenge Fund. This is a workshop that is here in Hanoi, our Hanoi campus. This initiative, implemented with the University of Queensland and the University of Melbourne and supported by the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research, ACR, brings together early and mid-career scientists from Africa and Southeast Asia to strengthen research capacity in climate-smart livestock systems. Through this training, collaboration, and peer learning, the program helps build the next generation of scientists working on sustainable livestock transformation. We will have a moment to hear more about this initiative from some of the fellows in these 2 days. In conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to reiterate to strengthening collaboration and partnerships for sustainable livestock transformation of food systems in Asia and the Pacific. I wish all of us a successful and productive conference in these 2 days. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Trọng cảm ơn tiến sĩ Moyo
emphasizing the critical role of research, science, and innovations in transforming the livestock sector, and for highlighting the importance of bridging the gap between research and implementation as well. So now we will listen to an opening message delivered by the video recording by Dr. Alu Dohong, Assistant Director General, FAO Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific. So now invite the technical team, please show the video. Thank you.
His Excellency Phang Duc Thien, Vice Minister of Agriculture and Environment of Vietnam, Dr. Siboniso Moyo, Deputy Director General of the International Livestock Research Institute, Dr. Francois Roger, Regional Director for Continental Southeast Asia of the French Agriculture Research Center for International Development, CIRAD. His Excellency Olivier Brossa, Ambassador of France to Vietnam, distinguished delegates, colleagues, partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great pleasure to address you and to warmly welcome you to this regional conference on sustainable livestock transformation for food systems in Asia and the Pacific. Allow me to express my sincere appreciation to our partners, the Government of Vietnam, the International Livestock Research Institute, the French Agriculture Research Center for International Development, and all collaborating institutions for convening such a diverse and committed group of stakeholders. Asia and the Pacific stands at the center of global livestock transformation. The region is home to nearly 59% of the world's population and 44% of its livestock. It is the largest consumer of animal source food globally, and demand continues to grow, driven by population growth, urbanization, and rising incomes. Livestock is not only about food production, it is fundamentally linked to livelihood, resilience, and rural development. The sector supports millions of farmers, pastoralists, and value chain actors across the region. Pastoralist communities, in particular, play a vital role in managing rangelands and producing food in challenging environments. Their contribution is being recognized through the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists in 2026, a FAO-supported global initiative highlighting their roles in sustainable livestock system and ecosystem stewardship. Since its establishment in 1975 as a statutory FAO regional body, the Animal Production and Health Commission for Asia and the Pacific, or APHCA, has served for more than 5 decades as a key platform for regional cooperation in livestock development. With its mandate to promote equitable, sustainable, and safe livestock sector growth, APHCA supports countries in aligning priorities, strengthening national capacities, and advancing resilient livestock system. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the region is currently facing complex and interconnected challenges. More than 20% of the population in Asia remains moderately or severely food insecure, with many unable to afford a healthy diet that includes adequate animal source foods. At the same time, Asia accounts for approximately 42% of global livestock-related greenhouse gas emissions. This underscores the urgent need to improve efficiency, reduce environmental impacts, and strengthen climate resilience to protect livelihood and ensure stable food production. The misuse and overuse of antimicrobials in livestock production, along with the persistent threat of transboundary animal diseases, highlight the need for comprehensive and coordinated action. Strategic use of vaccines, improve feed and nutrition, and several farming practices are essential to mitigate antimicrobial resistance and infectious diseases risks. Moreover, rapid population growth, urbanization, land use change, and increasing interaction among human, livestock, wildlife, and ecosystem are accelerating the risk of zoonotic diseases. Strengthening animal health system, enhancing biosecurity, and advancing One Health approaches are critical to safeguarding livestock production, protecting public health, and reducing the risk of future pandemic. FAO remains firmly committed to advancing sustainable livestock transformation in line with our strategic framework 2022-2031 and the four betters: better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life, leaving no one behind. At the global level, FAO members through the FAO Subcommittee on Livestock have identified sustainable livestock transformation as a strategic priority and have requested FAO to develop global plans of action to guide coordinated effort worldwide. This conference offers an important opportunity to ensure the perspective and priorities of Asia and the Pacific meaningfully inform that global process. Regionally, FAO continues to work closely with government, regional economic communities, and partner organizations to strengthen cooperation and align efforts with country-led priorities, including through APHCA, to advance more efficient, productive, resilient, and sustainable livestock system. At the country level, FAO's One Health investment cases support governments in developing cross-sectoral, evidence-based plans by applying economic analysis and integrated approaches across human, animals, and environmental health. These initiatives help demonstrate the value of coordinated, climate-smart, and health-aligned livestock transformation. Distinguished colleagues, this conference is both timely and strategic. It provides an important platform to exchange experiences, identify shared priorities, clarify roles, and strengthen partnership to advance sustainable livestock transformation in our region. Your discussions over the coming days will help shape regional priorities and contribute to the development of a regional plans of action. FAO stands ready to continue working closely partnership with all stakeholders to drive this transformation forward. I wish you a productive and successful conference. Thank you very much.
And which he emphasized that livestock transformation is important in strengthening the food security and nutrition while protecting the environment and public health, so play a key role. Next, it's my honor to invite Her Excellency Maggie Keller, Treasurer d'Affaires, Embassy of France in Vietnam, who will deliver the remark on behalf of His Excellency Mr. Oliver Broches, Ambassador of France to Vietnam. Your floor. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President, Madam Director General, representative of ministry, regional and international organization, dear partner from the private sector, producer organization, and civil society. I am very honored to be with you today to open this regional conference. Allow me to warmly thank you, the co-organizer and co-host of this conference, the Vietnamese Ministry of Agriculture and Environment, the International Livestock Research Institute, the FAO, and of course, CIRAD. Livestock farming is a pillar of the transformation of food system in a region that accounts for a major share of the world population. It supports agricultural economies and responds to growing demand. but it also faces powerful constraints: climate change, pressure on land and water, societal expectation, and health risk. The observation is clear. Despite the commitment of stakeholders, progress continues to be hampered by fragmented policy, by the gap between science, practice, and investment, and by a growing need for regional coordination. That is why we are here today, to move for a shared diagnostic to concrete results. This annual conference also resonates with a major international calendar event, the International One Health Summit, which will take place in Lyon, France on April 7 this year, at the occasion of the World Health Day. The One Health approach is central for livestock farming. Food safety, zoonose, animal welfare, water pollution, pressure on soil, biodiversity. In all these areas, the interdependence between human, animals, and the environment is immediate. I would now like to stress one essential point: animal health, and more broadly, the One Health approach as condition of resilience. In Asia, animal health is a pillar of food security, of the stability of value chain, and of the livelihood of millions of livestock farmers. In a context of intensifying trade and increasing pressure on resources, transboundary animal disease constitute a major risk, economic, social, and sometimes geopolitical. Avian influenza, African swine fever, peste des petits ruminants, these threats remind us of an obvious truth. Investing in prevention and its surveillance system means investing in the continuity of food supply, on income stability, and a consumer confidence. France has long been committed to this approach and intends to be in Southeast Asia a partner for practical solutions. I am thinking first of the international PRESOD initiative, which aims to prevent the emergence of zoonoses at the source by acting at the interface between livestock farming, wildlife, and the environment and human society. I am also thinking of the Sustainable Wildlife Management Program conducted by FAO, CIRAD, the Wildlife Conservation Society, and C4ICRAF. Its pilot phase in Laos and Vietnam concretely illustrates the logic of prevention at interface. In this effort, I would like to underline that CIRAD occupies a central place. Through its presence in Vietnam and the region, it links research, support for public policy, capacity building, and regional scientific cooperation. I would like to conclude my speech with a simple call. The sustainable transformation of livestock farming in Asia and the Pacific is not a challenge of one country, one ministry, one institute, or one company can meet alone. Transboundary disease, market, climate change, quality standard, biosecurity, animal welfare, all call for a coordinated response. France, alongside its partner in Southeast Asia and Pacific, is ready to continue playing its role, a role of facilitator, scientific partner, and bridge builder between research, policy, and investment. I thank you.
Thank you, all distinguished speakers, for your very inspiring remarks. And now we will move ahead with a memorandum of understanding signing ceremony between partner institutes. So may I invite all the distinguished leaders just stay on the stage, and I will hand over to my colleague whom will to facilitate this session. Whom's your floor?
Thank you very much, Chi Nguyen, for the excellent facilitation. I think that we can have a clap to her so that we can continue a very nice day. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much for being here. I'm very happy to see many people. The room in Pan Pacific is full today. Many colleagues from Asia and the Pacific. I even see our colleague from the Pacific, Vice Minister, Excellency Phùng Đắc Tiến, Bonimoyo DDG, Marie Keller, Attaché d'Affaires, Tanawat Tinsien, ADG of FAO. Thank you very much for the excellent opening remark, also from ADG from Bangkok. I'm here today because I'm tasked to just facilitate a very short session, but I think that is a very important session about partnership. This conference actually is being co-organized by the Ministry of Environment and Agriculture of Vietnam. Our co-host is here, together with FAO, CIRAD, and INRI. And if you look, there's the three logos of three international organizations. CIRAD and INRI, we are research for development organizations based in Vietnam. Our headquarters is somewhere in Montpellier in France, in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and in Kenya. And to work here, both CIRAD and INRI need partners from this country. I just talked with my friend, Dr. François Roger. CIRAD has been here for 32 years, and INRI only 20 years. We are a little bit younger, but we are together. And we work a lot with Vietnamese institutions. And today, in front of you, we want to sign some MOU with some key partners in Vietnam. And with that, I would like to invite a few colleagues, delegates, to witness this signing ceremony. Of course, we have 4 distinguished delegates here, but I would like to invite also Dr. Nguyễn Đỗ Anh Tuấn, Director General of ICD, International Collaboration Department of the Ministry. Please, Dr. Tuấn, can you come over on the stage to witness the signing ceremony? I would like also to invite Dr. Phạm Quang Minh, the DDG of Department of Animal Health and Production of Vietnam. Can you please come over? And now I invite 4 distinguished delegates. Can you stand up to witness this ceremony of signing of MOU? And I would like to invite now 3 head of institutions. First, Dr. Phạm Doãn Lân, Acting DG of Vietnam Institute of Animal and Veterinary Science. Dr. Lân, please come over. You representing VIAS. I would like to invite Professor Nguyễn Hồng Sơn, President of VAS Vietnam Agriculture Academy of Science of Vietnam. Can you come here over? Last but not least, I would like to invite Professor Phạm Văn Cường, Vice President of Vietnam University of Agriculture, Vân Đồn. Of course, I've got my ADGs also here. Dr. Shirley Tarawali, can you come over also as a witness? Can you come over? Okay, so I would like that you help make a line. Mời Thứ trưởng chúng ta đứng phía sau ạ. Yeah. Okay. The first it's very good. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you know that this is the first time that I'm standing next to many distinguished guests from Research Institute in Vietnam and also the Vice Minister and FAO delegate. Okay, may I invite first Dr. Boni Moyo, DDG of INRI. Can you take a seat? And the first partner from Vietnam, Dr. Phạm Doãn Lân. You are acting DG of VAVS. Can you please have your seat? So this is actually to formalize the partnership between INRI and VAVS. You know, the VAVS is a newly established institute merging really the NIVR, veterinary medicine and animal science. Please. So INRI has been working with NIVR and NIAS and now VIVS for the last 20 years, mostly on genetics, breeding, animal health, and One Health that we talk a lot today. Excellent. You can exchange sign MOU from both sides. And I would like to... Okay. Thank you very much. Let's have a very nice photo for this signing of MOU. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lân. So, Dr. Moyo, can you remain at the seat for the next signing? So now, next, I would like to invite Professor Nguyễn Hồng Sơn, President of VAS. Can you please take your seat so that we can proceed to a signing between INRI and VAS for today, a ceremony of MOU signing. VAS is the largest public research institute on agriculture in Vietnam, mostly focusing on crop research And people might ask why INRI working on livestock inside with crop research institution, but obviously now we talked about One Health. So vast work on soil health, plant health, feed and forage, and it's very important to collaborate with International Livestock Research Institute. So recently we organized some event on One Health together. You can exchange the MOU, Dr. Moyo and Dr. Shen. Thank you very much. Thank you again. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to invite Professor Phạm Văn Cường, Vice President of Vietnam National University of Agriculture, the largest agriculture university in Vietnam. Actually, we had the chance to visit Vanua yesterday and learn about excellent training and research in agriculture. They have more than 100 professors and associate professors and training 30,000 students per year. Boni, I think that you still need you to sign the MOU with Vanua. Sorry for that. And I promise you this is the last one. Okay, take your seat. Yeah, for the last 20 years, INRI worked a lot with Vanua, so mostly on animal health and value chain research on pigs value chain of smallholder in Vietnam. And we together trained many PhD students and master students in the joy projects for the last 20 years. And we look forward very much to strengthening this collaboration. Thank you very much. Now, Professor Keung, you need to remain here. You need to remain. Only my DDG will step back to business. Only you can now go on the back side, because I would like to invite, I would like to invite now François Roger, please come over. François Roger is the Regional Director of CIRAT, and CIRAT will sign an MOU today with Vanua. So as I said, CIRAT has been here for 32 years in Vietnam, working in agronomy, and recently they work a lot on One Health, in particular with the Pre-Zone initiative mentioned by our colleague from French Embassy, and on the way to the One Health Summit in Lyon in a few weeks. That is very important topics to work with Vanua among many other topics. Thank you very much. Okay, now I can invite all of you to have a group photo together on the stage. Our partners. Okay, so group photo of all our distinguished delegates. For this photo, please. Okay, maybe you can advance here. Have a nice photo, please. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, delegates.
Stay on the stage, then we will take a photo, a group photo right now. And I would like to invite everyone in the room, please come to the stage for a group photo. Yeah. Please come to the stage for the group photo, please. Mời mọi người lên trên sân khấu để chúng ta có thể cùng chụp ảnh nhóm ạ. Please come to the stage for the group photo quickly. Yeah, thank you. For the other, please come to the behind row, please. Yeah. Sorry. Now we need to go back to the plenary sessions. Okay, I think that we have many times. Everyone, please stay in the room. Everyone, please stay in the room. Not tea break yet. Please come back to the room, please. Everyone, please go back to the room. Not tea break yet. We still have many interesting sessions ahead. Please go back, go back. So the technical team, please ask the people to go back to the room, please. Em ơi đóng cửa và chị đóng cửa giúp em cái. Be seated and we will continue to the next session. And now we will move to the session 2, setting the scene, regional livestock system and global challenges of livestock transformations. And now I would like to invite Mr. Felix Talat from FAO and Dr. Hùng Nguyễn from IRI to co-facilitate these sessions. Your floor, Felix. I think that you want to go first. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone, and please be seated. I think we're almost there. The room is quite full already. So good morning again, everyone, and welcome to this second session of the conference. My name is Félix Teilhard. I'm a Livestock Development Officer in the FAO Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific. And it will be my pleasure to co-facilitate this session with Hung, the Regional Director for Asia of ILRI. So in the opening session, we just heard that we're at a turning point for the livestock sector, requiring sharing of experience, innovation, regional cooperation, linking research, policy, and investment, also engaging the private sector to move forward the livestock transformation agenda in the region. In this second session, we will take a step back and look at major global frameworks guiding the transformation of the livestock sector, and also a strategic overview of the role of livestock in the Asia and Pacific region. So the aim of this second session is really to build a common understanding that will inform the discussions that we will have over the next 2 days. We will start with a joint keynote presentation, and it is my honor to introduce our two distinguished speakers. The first one will be Dr. Shirley Tarawali, who's Assistant Director General at ILRI, with a very extensive experience in pastoral livestock production system, crop livestock integration, and sustainable development. And our second speaker will be Dr. Tanwa Tenzin, Assistant Director General at FAO and Director of the Animal Production and Health Division in our headquarters in Rome, with extensive experience in both the technical level and international policy. So I would like to invite you, Shirley, to the stage for the first part of this keynote presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felix. Good morning, everyone. Excellency, distinguished guests. It's really a privilege to be here, and even to have my slides is great as well. You know, I'll be leaving ILRI in a couple of months' time. So I found myself asking, what am I doing here? Why have I come through this very circuitous route to actually arrive and be at this conference? And I think it's because I see tremendous opportunities for livestock to contribute to food systems transformation in the region, to harness the diversity and the multiple roles of the sector. But I also think it's because at this conference, we have the stakeholders and the opportunity to make recommendations that will make that potential a reality. We have 25 or so countries, at least 5 different stakeholder typologies. It's a very diverse ecosystem. So credit to the organizers, but especially to all of you for coming. It's unique. So let's not go home without really grasping this opportunity. So perhaps we should all ask, why am I here? And I'll return to that question at the end, and hope that these few remarks will perhaps convince you if you weren't already convinced. One more thing, and I'm sure this is not surprising to many of you, livestock are really valuable. If you look 2024, the value of production, 5 of the top 10 commodities in the world are the most valuable across the whole world. They're contributing, those top 10, 2.3% of total GDP, and livestock is more than half of that. In Vietnam, or in Asia as a whole, it's even more. We have 10% coming from those top 10 commodities, with livestock contributing some 40% there. In fact, it's about half of the total global contribution of livestock. So really important economically, but we know it's so much more than dollars. Livestock play many different roles, and the 4 different dimensions of FAO's Global Plan of Action on Sustainable Livestock Transformation really gives us a framing for those multiple roles that you've heard many speakers touch on already this morning, and that we're going to use to frame our discussions. And Tanawat's going to tell you more about those, and we'll get into a bit more detail as we go along. But I also think we're in exciting and as well as challenging times. Exciting perhaps because, perhaps for the first time, we have the architecture. We have a broad organizing framework. We have food systems transformation pathways. Alongside, we have the Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation. And so we have some pieces in place that will help us work together, I hope, in new and different ways. But it's also challenging. We have geopolitical challenges. We have shifts in aid and development resourcing. And dare I say, time is starting to run out on what we need to achieve. This conference provides an opportunity for a new and streamlined institutional landscape, connections, modalities, so that we can work together in ways that perhaps we have never done before. So I'll come back to that at the end. Let me take first a few moments to unpack some of these exciting and challenging elements, particularly in relation to livestock, that I hope will help frame our conversations over the coming days. Our next interventions will be more specific on livestock and on the GPA. The food system transformation pathways, as I'm sure you know, came from the Food Systems Summit, launched in 2021, and there have been 2 stock-taking moments since then. Its implementation includes food system pathways coming from 130 countries worldwide. 30 of those countries are in this region. Almost every country in the region has a food systems transformation pathways, and some countries have done a lot of work in keeping those up to date and in putting in place mechanisms to really make sure it's not just a piece of paper, but things are happening. In Vietnam, in particular, there's a goal, and there are specific that for ILRI at that time. That partnership has 5 technical working groups. We can see them there. And you can see they cover the whole spectrum. They cover the spectrum of things that we as livestock people also want to come and discuss during the course of these couple of days. And we can see, if we look even quite briefly at the different elements, the food system tracks that we have here in Vietnam, just as an example, and the 4 strategic priorities coming from the Global Plan of Action, there's lots of connections. And we need to talk about how do we make those connections work. I'm sure everybody would want to come and draw even more arrows on this graph. This was just to say there's lots of connections there. And we're going to have a look at how do we make that work and deliver. Just last year in Addis Ababa, the stocktake moment, what's called the +4, the UN Secretary General came with a call to action. He talked of urgency. He talked of dialogue and policy coordination, of finance and investment, of integration of all the sustainability dimensions, using science and new technologies and intergenerational collaboration. I think our conference for these 2 days really ticks all of those boxes. So congratulations again to those who've been involved in organizing that.
In fact, there's also been a lot of other action, even just this month. In Bangkok, there was the 4th Asia-Pacific Food System Transformation meeting, really looking again at accelerating food systems transformation. And just last week, the Asia Development Bank in Manila convened the Asia and Pacific Food Systems Forum on the theme, Feeding the Future, Sustaining the Planet, Mobilizing Stakeholders to Deliver on a $14 billion investment. So a lot of interest, a lot of money. But let's be mindful, this is a call to action, not just to dialogue and discussion, although this might lead, one would hope, to action. So this conference provides us a powerful opportunity to link all these pieces together. But we also have some challenges, and credit to Mariam Rezai of ODI for these points. We see globally reductions in aid funding and a lot of national governments being expected to pick that up. We see public budgets diverted often to defense funding, missing the point perhaps that in many cases food security is often related very closely to national security. We see tariffs and trade barriers. If you don't have data on your carbon, you sometimes can't get into the trade mix, for example. We see often short-term horizons rather than long. Resilience and structural variability, those things that take much longer, sometimes get left out of the picture. And while philanthropic funding is really, really important, it cannot replace the breadth and depth of public funding and engagement. The food systems architecture is excellent, but with these kinds of challenges, it's really, I think, being tested. So we have to commend those who are investing time, resources in whatever way, and recognize that this choice is really a strategic priority for everything: food security, national security, economic growth, health and well-being of every citizen. So let's not allow these very fundamentals of development to get crowded out in this rather complicated space. Of course, for livestock, perhaps the test or the challenge is even greater because it's sometimes seen as a villain or a problem or even irrelevant for some of the food systems elements today. So it's not always prioritized. But we know, many of us in this room, that livestock is essential to accelerate the transformation to more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food systems, that we need evidence and solutions to influence that geopolitical space, and we need solutions that work. And you see many of those in the marketplace here that you'll have a chance to explore a bit later. And our agenda is structured to address some of these. But we also mentioned urgency. I picked this from Lawrence Haddad, the CEO of GAIN, who showed these food system countdown indicators, just metrics trying to measure how are we doing on food systems transformation. This is for Asia, and you can see there's still a lot of red on the graph. That just re-emphasizes how urgent this work, our engagement, our planning over the next days really is. This is a graphic that I borrowed from Hung that really tries to pull together some of the elements of what we'll be talking about over the next days, framed by the 4 areas in the Global Plan of Action. We're going to look at financing, policy and interventions, at research, and really try to bring together our collective knowledge, the solutions towards some recommendations that will help us advance and take action towards the role of livestock in sustainable food system transformation. So if we ask again, why are we here? I think we're here to harness this rather unique opportunity, the diversity both here in the room and of the livestock sector and its deep and essential roles right across Asia and the Pacific, as well as the wonderful architecture, food system transformation pathways, and the global plan of action that we have in place. We need to move from diagnosis and discussion to action and accountability. I think we need to work together, all of us, in ways that perhaps we have not worked together before. And I like to wish us all very successful deliberations. The stage is set.
Thank you very much, Shirley, for encouraging us to question ourselves on why we're here. I think we all share the sense of challenge and excitement that you describe, and I hope that we will respond to your call for action. I would like to invite you now, Dr. Tanawat, on stage to give us more information on the Sustainable Livestock Transformation framework that FAO is moving forward. Over to you.
Very good morning, Xin chào. I think it's very easy to talk with you after Sherry Talavari gave you an introduction. And especially if you listen to the Vice Minister carefully, you can see that here in Asia Pacific, they have a lot of good news related to agri-food system, livestock sector. This morning, you see Vietnam, 100 million pigs produced every year, 600 million poultry chickens produced here to meet the local consumption here in Vietnam. And even though he mentioned that transformations of livestock sectors is crucial. And how are we going to put more investment in agri-food system, in livestock sectors is the challenge. Because today, the demand of animal proteins is also increasing, even though some regions may be stable or reduced a bit. And that's why last week, when Director General of FAO together with presidents of Asia Development Bank have a meeting in Manila, the one of the issues that they discussed, how to increase the investment in agri-food system and livestock sectors. And one of the sessions is dedicated to how to move the livestock sectors to have a better futures. And that's why, as Sherry mentions, just the early of this month at FAO Subcommittee on Livestock, all the member states came together to negotiate, to talk about global plan of action for sustainable livestock transformation, how to transform, how to move, and how to change. We know that Asia today and Pacific as well, a lot of good news about agri-food system, about livestock, rapid growth in terms of productions. I just talked with animal husbandry commissioner from India. You know that 50 years ago, no one think that today India become the world's largest milk producers. From the white revolution when Dr. Kurian started 50 years ago. More than 80 million family farmers in India produce enough, even though more, because the Prime Minister Narendra Modi just made an announcement last 3 years when we have the World Dairy Summit in India. He would like to double the milk production in India. All the cattle in India will receive the vaccination, because the leader come with the action and vision. And when you talk about pork and aquaculture today, Asia, it become #1. More than 60%, 70% of fish that we are consuming today, it come from aquacultures. It not come from fisheries or traditional fisheries that you know now. It changed. Even though now we are working in Africa together with other organizations, including ILI, to promote aquaculture in Africa as well, and poultry. When I was very young, it's very difficult to get or to buy eggs in Thailand because I'm from Thailand, even though to have chickens, meat. But today, all the countries in Southeast Asia can produce enough eggs and chickens, meat here. And that's why it totally to change in terms of scenarios, in terms of situation. And even though many more will come to change. And that's why today we have a good news in Asia. But sometimes farmers and producers in other regions don't have a good news. Because of the national policies, global policies, sometimes it also make our farmers and producers in the difficult situation when the policies is not balanced. You know that when you're talking about sustainability, you talk about 3 dimensions: economic dimension, environmental dimension, and social dimensions. But when it's not balanced, when you go to one side too much, you may have an impact to another side. And that's why our farmers and producers are suffering sometimes. And that's why in terms of policies, it's always not easy. And especially livestock sectors. Over the past 2 decades, livestock sectors has been complained, criticized. Greenhouse gas emission, animal welfare, overuse, misuse of antibiotics, antimicrobials, deforestation, and so on. There's no good news. And that's why today we would like to make more good news, more balanced and new narrative for livestock sectors. Even though last year when FAO hosted Global Conference on Sustainable Livestock Transformation, we also have a group of activists come to showcase and highlight that livestock sectors, whatever issues. But even though the door is open, who don't like livestock sectors, please come and talk. Even though some of those who are stand outside FAO come to join and talk how to shape the better futures for livestock sectors, because dialogue and discussion will bring us to have a better future for our farmers and producers. And you can see that today we are feeding 8 billion people is already difficult. Some regions don't have enough food. And especially during the COVID-19, you can see that the food price crisis double 100%. And today, the situation in Gulf countries is not easy. I just talked with some colleagues yesterday as well. Today, you see that the feed ingredients and also feed supplements that link to petroleum is also have an impact. And today, some of the countries in Gulf countries, before they didn't produce. Today, Kuwait, Oman, or even though Saudi Arabia that I visited them last years. Today, Saudi Arabia can have a local production almost 60% of milk and chicken meat, even though aquacultures. But the situation today, it completely changed because they cannot import animal feed. And that's why if we want to feed 10 billion people by 2050, that we know that the demand of animal protein, agricultural products will increase. And you can see that at least 20%. But if you go to Africa, even more than 20%. And that's why you can see the markets have a lot of opportunities. But we know that because the livestock sector has been criticized about animal welfare, foodborne disease, transboundary animal disease, deforestation, as I mentioned, overuse and misuse of antimicrobials, greenhouse gas emissions, or soil and water pollutions. How are we going to address these issues? And that's why, as vice ministers or even the juries and other speakers mentioned, we need innovation. How are we going to have a better vaccine for animal disease? How are we going to have the new innovation and technology to reduce the methane and greenhouse gas emission from livestock sectors? And that's why at FAO, when we started having the new the Sustainable Livestock Transformation Initiative, and also to have the global conference on sustainable livestock transformation, to make sure that we have the venues for all of you producers, farmers, and private sectors and government, academias and research institution, financial institution come to talk and pave the way for better futures. And it's the first time as well last year when more than 100 CEO from livestock company came to discuss. Before, when I talk with those CEO, they say that they are afraid to come to FAO. Why? Even though I have a meeting outside FAO with them before, in a small, I call a secret place, because they say that they're afraid that when they have a meeting, someone will have a protest in front of the hotels. Even though when I talk with the international finance institutions, they say that when they need to give money or loan to livestock projects, the next day we'll have someone to protest in front of the bank. But now change. International financial institutions want to put more investment. As Cherry mentioned before, 14 billion. Even though in the next few years, they try to increase from 1 billion to 7 billion for livestock sectors. And that's why this one is opportunity that we see. Even though why today, even the last 2 weeks when Scott organized the regional conference on sustainable livestock transformation, we want to move this dynamic from the global to the regional, and especially the region like Asia Pacific or Africa and Latin America, because this region is very fast, very dynamic. But also other regions in Europe and also Near East, we also need to work with them to make sure that we can feed the world and we can continue to have a better futures together. And that's why during the early of this month, when we have the negotiation, this one is a negotiated document. Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation is your plan, because your members already discussed and negotiated. It's not FAO plan, and need to translate the Global Plan of Action to become the National Plan of Action, even though I know that some of you already have the National Plan for Livestock. But in some region, I just went to European Parliament and European Commission last month, and now I learned that European Union going to have the EU livestock new policy. And you can see that now we are checking everywhere to make sure that we see a better future of livestock sectors. To make sure our small scale farmers, our producers, or even big or small, they see opportunity. And that's why we need to make sure that we're looking forward for better production, better nutrition, better environment, and life. Once our farmers, producers see a better life, better futures, better economic opportunities, I'm sure that the new generation, they would like to come to agriculture or agri-food system or livestock sectors. Because today you can see that young generation, they don't want to continue what their parents did before. In agriculture, it's difficult work, it's hard work, and spend life on the farm. I myself come from poultry families. I know that every time, every morning, every evening, when I have to feed thousands of chicken, it's not easy, it's hard. But we need technologies, and technologies, innovations, precision farming will help us today. And that's why more work to come. And that's why at FAO now we are working, actually there are some other framework as well. Now we are working on Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation, agri-food system framework that we are working to make sure that we achieve for better. And as you know that when you're working in livestock, always the transboundary animal disease is one of the issues. And that's why recently, Director General just launched we are still discussing the Global Partnership Program for Transboundary Animal Disease, how to make sure that we can support the countries and can do better. And when you're talking about One Health now, the pandemic fund help us to bring all the ministry to work together, even though to plan together. And when you're talking about antimicrobial resistance, how to reduce the need. And that's why the Reno Farm initiative was launched, or even though the 5G farm, the good health services, good production practices, good alternative and innovation, and good incentive and good connections. Farmer will not change anything if they have to work harder. Farmer will not change anything if they know that they get less profit. And that's why the incentive that government have to give to farmers will help them to change faster. And that's why all of these kind of service offers will continue. We will work with ELI, we will work with WOA, we will work with other organizations, CRAD as well, to make sure that we can driving and also enhancing the production and productivity of livestock sectors, improving the animal health service at the country level, and also to reduce in terms of environmental impact at the countries. And the work on One Health need to continue, because there's no single ministries, single agency, single company can deal with these complex issues. Just yesterday, before I came here, I stopped in Bangkok to discuss with them about the One Health International program to bring the country in Asia Pacific, how to implement. Easy to say we will have to work on One Health. But when into the real world, when you go to the country, sometimes two ministers, they don't talk. Two agencies, they don't talk. And that's why we need to, and that's why Vietnam and Laos, they already make change. They bring the Minister of Agriculture, two Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Agriculture, and they merge, become Ministry of Agriculture and Environment. Perhaps from now they will talk better because they are in the one ministry. And that's why the situation of transboundary continue, even though increasing, especially when we the global financial landscape change, and now the investment for transboundary animal disease is reduced a lot. And that's why the global partnership program for transboundary animal disease is initiated recently. But we need to do more. We need to make sure that we can buy all the service. And that's why the work on pathway toward lower emission for livestock sectors, biocircular economies, and others need to make sure that we can highlight and showcase to make sure that livestock sectors have a better narrative. Because if we continue to have a bad narrative about livestock sectors, will cost us a lot. Because when our farmers, producers get loan from the bank will put a lot of pressures on our farmers and producers on greenhouse gas emission, on antibiotics, on animal welfare. And that's why so many things that we need to change and more work to be done. Why we're talking about investment? Because today investment, if you are waiting for international financial institution, is not enough. And that's why the investment from private sectors is crucial. And the investment and also the international development assistance, whatever, from FAO, from any others, is just very small. And that's why we need to make sure that we can increase more, even though we know that the pandemic fund today provided a lot of support to improve the animal health service at the country level. But I'm sure that we still need to advocate and also mobilize more to support the countries. The global livestock landscape changing. Before, we didn't have the subcommittee on livestock. Before, we didn't have the global conference on sustainable livestock. We don't have the framework. We don't have the global plan of action. But now we change. And that's why we need to change more, because especially in Asia Pacific, you are the high-speed train. The change here is like a high-speed train of 400 kilometers per hour. And that's why us, as the international organization, as the investors, we also need to move faster to meet the change, to meet the demand of the sectors. And that's why how we're going to achieve to make sure that the sustainable livestock transformation in Asia Pacific is not the talk, but it's a real action. And you can see action from now and from tomorrow, because you are the one who can make change. And that's why this week is not only here in Vietnam. The day after tomorrow, I will go to Indonesia because the government of Indonesia, together with many others, private sectors. Now we will talk with private sectors how we're going to transform the sustainable livestock industry development in Asia and Pacific. Not only Asia Pacific, but colleagues from Latin America, from Africa, Europe, and other continents will come together because the private sectors, they can help us to change faster. But at the same time, I just talked with the animal husbandry commissioners from India. Let's say the country like India is very special because it's a cooperative-based productions. And in many countries, small-scale farmers, pastoralists, especially this year is International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralists. And that's why to make sure that small-scale farmers and pastoralists do play an important role for the local productions. And this year as well, the President of France, President Macron, will host the One Health Summit in Lyon on 7th of April. But we know that the leader talk with strong political commitment, if we don't take action, it's just only the leader talk. And that's why at FAO, we translate the One Health Leader Summit to become the action, the real action from different sectors, how to implement the One Health in agri-food system, how One Health linked to soil health, One Health linked to plant health, plant production, One Health to clean air and clean waters, One Health to livestock production and animal health, and One Health in ecosystem service and so on. And that's why we need to continue to translate the high-level political commitment to local and national action on ground. And even though when I'm talking about reduce the need of antimicrobials, we know that antimicrobial resistance is a big challenge, is a global threat. And then that's why even though we have the political talk in New York last 2 years, but if we do nothing, we cannot make any change. And that's why the Rhino Farm initiative will bring the country together to take action on ground, to bring more innovation, how to make change. And I'm sure that what kind of better futures you do vision. You need to have your own vision, what you want to change, what you want to see your futures and your farmers. Because I know that many of you come from government sectors, but we know that the private sector will change. And what does a better futures look like for you and your children and the new generation to come? And what futures do you hope to create? You need to do by yourself, and you need to change by yourself, and we join our efforts to change and transform together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thanawat, for this inspiring overview of how FAO is supporting livestock transformation and for encouraging us to build a common vision for the future of our region and to work together in implementing it. We will now move to a set of more thematic insights into a livestock sector transformation. And to facilitate this second segment, I would like to invite Hung from ILRI to facilitate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felix. Merci, Felix. It's me again. Good morning again, everyone. And thanks Shirley and Thanawat for the insightful keynote. We are a little bit behind the time, but I think that it was very important to know what the view from INRI and FAO to transform really livestock system in a sustainable way and some action. Okay, so my role now is very simple, and I just talk with Scott. I need to remind people the time before. We have a series of rapid talk, only 10 minutes each speakers, and we try to keep the time. And we will have 4 distinguished speakers. And first, I would like to invite Dr. Scott Newman. Now, Scott, you are probably known by many Vietnamese people here because you used to be here before leading ECTAT FAO, before moving to Africa. And now you are back to the region, not in Hanoi, but based in Bangkok. You are actually the senior animal health and production officer at FAO RAP in Bangkok. And actually the initiation of this conference was a little bit between you, me, and Tanawat from INRI and FAO discussion. And you will come to talk 10 minutes about the role of livestock in food security and nutrition. Floor is yours. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Hung, for that introduction, and thanks to Shirley and Tanawat for setting the scene. I will try to keep to my 10 minutes, and for me, it's really a wonderful homecoming, already meeting a lot of old friends here in Hanoi. It's been 10 years since I've been back, but it's really changed a lot, and I think that dynamic of change is really what this presentation will focus on as well. I think as everyone realizes, we have a human population that continues to grow. And the demographics and the change in people's socioeconomic status continues to drive the need for more food and particularly more animal protein. You can see that the numbers will continue to go up, and therefore, whether it's meat, milk, or eggs, we'll need to match that in order to feed the number of people that we'll have to address. When we take a look at the livestock sector and our production system, we can't talk about just animals. Animals don't exist in and of themselves. There's a whole production system that's associated with how we deal with livestock. And we recognize that this sort of agri-food system has many different elements to it. And we've got a lot of great accomplishments. Tanawat also mentioned a lot of the positive outcomes and the success stories and the things that livestock brings, including opportunities for livelihoods and gender equity and a variety of these other elements that are very important. But we also know that we've had some challenges, and these challenges are what we need to overcome in the transformation and the way forward, particularly the challenges related to diseases, environmental sustainability, the use of land and water and soil, and certainly biodiversity loss. But these are all things that we have tools and approaches to solve. In the region, there is the Asia and Pacific Regional Overview of Food Security and Nutrition, and it acknowledges very well that we've made some great success, and we've made progress, particularly in the Asia Pacific region, but there's more work to do. We certainly know we have a lot of people that still remain undernourished. There's certainly nearly 1 billion people that still are dealing with food insecurity. Nearly 1/3 of the population, 1.2 billion people, can't afford a healthy diet. And we know that we have micronutrient deficiencies, anemia, and more recently, rising obesity rates. Overall, if you take a look at the Asia-Pacific region, while we have over 60% of the population now, we also recognize that we have a significant number of products that are imported to the region as well as produced in the region. And of the different animal and meat and protein sectors, we know that fish production and aquaculture, while it's grown, it's not growing as much as potentially the livestock sector can play a role here. We also know that the crop production is also leveled off a bit relative to the livestock sector. So I think we recognize that we need to step up and continue to provide the source of protein in a large number. If you take a look globally, a lot of the world has meat as a source of their food, upwards of 50%. In their overall diet. Here in the region, we're somewhere in the 15 to 30%, depending on where you are. So we see that it's a part of what we eat, but also if you look at some of the other countries that have had access to affordable and well-distributed, easily accessible meat, the overall consumption of meat could potentially go up as well. We know that the projected demand is going up also in Asia, more so than other regions. So again, this is the challenge that we face. Now, when we take a look at what we've been able to do as a region, we realize that whether it's red meat, poultry, eggs, or milk, we're actually producing a lot of food here. That's wonderful and that's great, but we have to keep going. And this means not necessarily more, but what it does mean is improving on the efficiencies. So we don't have to have more numbers of farms, larger farms, more land use, but we need to be more efficient in where we're producing. And we need to improve on that efficiency and the productivity of the animals that we do have. As well, we know that certain countries have really made landmark leadership roles. Certainly, we heard about the dairy production in India, really pushing the limits and really supporting at a global level. China, Vietnam, certainly some of the largest pig production in this region by far. Now, the different system inputs that we have to deal with, it's not just about animals, right? We know we have geopolitics to deal with. We know we have trade and tariffs. A lot of what we produce also needs to be distributed, value chains, and a variety of these other cultural elements play a role in what we do. But once we have the food, there are also certain choices that people need to make, and people choose based on their awareness, and about access and affordability. So I think we need to look at this in a holistic way. It's not just producing more animals, but it's also informing communities and people about the choices that they can make and helping them be able to afford the right priced food to live happy and healthy and nutritious lives. And that's part of the picture that we can't forget. And I think we sometimes get stuck on just producing more food, but it's really about also having the global population know what is good food to eat, what is food that is not necessarily highly processed, but is fresh food, so it benefits their health. And I think that's part of the solution. This sort of refers to the healthy diet basket that we all recognize our livestock production it's part of. And I think what we're seeing in this region as a result of our high level of production and food availability is actually, though, starting to be on the negative side again. We're dealing with obesity, and childhood obesity as well as adult obesity is becoming a major issue, a big public health burden, and it has many other repercussions. So again, this balance between affordable, healthy food and increased production is the sort of the balance that I think we need to strike. You've seen this slide. Tanawat used it to show the challenges. I look at it and I think it's actually where we have the opportunities for transformation. So we can take every one of these and transform it to be better and improved and be part of the solution and change the image that we have to deal with in the livestock sector. The four betters are how FAO manages and approaches the harmonized approach. And really, this is for us, if we're able to achieve the convergence and the changes and transformation of our food systems, and particularly the livestock system, we will be able to achieve and move towards these four betters. Finally, I just want to mention that there's a lot of regional entities here. We certainly know in the region there are also very significant regional platforms that have been established, and they're working on food system transformation pathways, as well as trying to guide the countries that are part of their regional entities in the right way forward. I think that that's great, and I would encourage more of that. I also think that these regional platforms need to take on board not just food systems transformation. There needs to be this other complementary element to think about how to inform the public on what is a healthy diet, how it benefits them, also having access to that healthy diet and facilitating trade and movement of healthy food so it's easily accessible and easily affordable. I think the whole reason we're here, it's to build partnerships, to build relationships. Together, our collaboration can really be strong and really benefit this initiative and the transformation. While we have organizational structures, we also know it often comes down to interpersonal relationships and friendships. And so I hope that we're able to continue to pursue that here as a collective family focused on transformation. So with that, I'll say thank you, and we remain available for further collaboration and look forward to the next few days. Thanks.
I'm so impressed. My technology works. I just put, 1 minute left, 2 minutes left, and actually Scott made it. You use exactly 10 minutes. Congratulations and welcome back home, Scott. Thank you very much. Okay. Please deal with me. We will have a coffee coming up in 30 minutes. I want you will have a little bit more energy in this room, and wake, you stay awake for the interesting talk coming up. Everyone please can you stand up just for 15 seconds. Make some movement. I know that, time zone different, make you a little bit. Okay, excellent. Okay, are you with me? Please sit down, please. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start 3 more talks. Our, ADGs, 2 ADG talk, set the scenes, and we go deep into food security and nutrition with livestock. The next one would be livestock and livelihood. You have the third one on One Health, and we will add up with climate and livestock. Now, I would like to invite my friend and colleagues. Melanie Blanchard is another coming back person to Vietnam because she was here with us before, but now you are in Montpellier. Welcome back, Melanie. She is an animal scientist at CIRAD in Montpellier, and her research focuses very much on crop livestock integration in the mixed farming system. Please take over the stage from me to talk about livestock contribution to livelihoods.
So yeah, I will try to keep the time. So I will present, I will make a presentation on the multidimensional contribution of livestock to rural livelihoods based on some examples and studies from Vietnam, with the contribution of some colleagues from Vietnam, VAVS, and ISPAE. I used to be based in Vietnam, but I don't read Vietnamese. So first, I can start. I will not remind the importance of livestock system in Southeast Asia and in Asia, but just reminding that for us, the usual indicators to understand the livelihoods are not sufficient. So using the production per animal, the animal income, the livestock income, or the labor productivities are not sufficient to understand the livestock contribution to livelihoods. So we use a livelihood framework to understand the livelihood and the contribution of livestock to the livelihoods. So first, the livelihoods are shaped by the vulnerability context. So it's important to take into account the shocks, the trends, and the seasonality. Then we have different type of asset and capitals used by the livestock farmers to produce. So with the human capital, the social capital, the natural resources, the physical, and the finance. And then we emphasize the importance of the policy, the laws, the norms, the organizations, the different institutions that shape the access of livestock farmers to the assets. So who can benefit and who can use the different assets. And also these different regulations affect the viability of the livelihood strategies. And then we have also the different livelihood strategies. So the farmers, they use different strategy like diversification of their off-farm, on-farm or non-farm activities, but also the diversification of the agricultural activities. And that's the way they manage the risk. So to understand the livelihood outcome, it's important to take into account the income, but also all the assets, the different regulations, norms and institutions, the risk, but also the capability and the ability of the different people to adapt. So if we have a look on the livestock contribution to livelihoods, we can say that it's they are multiple. So the net income from the livestock doesn't provide a full understanding of the contribution of livestock to livelihoods, because we need to take into account the diversity of activities of the family farm. So it's important to include livestock activities, part of the other activities. And it's also important to take into account the fact that the livestock income and the livestock capitals are not the same value depending on the type of farms and the place, the localization of the farm. To understand the contribution of livestock to livelihood, it's required a multidimensional approach due to the fact that the livestock are providing multiple goods and multiple services with the final goods, but also the intermediaries goods with manure, draft power or transportation, and the life assets with the saving, the net safety, the solidarity, etc. It's also important to take into account the fact that if you want to understand the livestock contribution to the livelihood, use a multidimensional approach due to the fact that the livelihood outcome are different depending of the scale, the temporal scales and the spatial scales. So for the different time scale, the capability of the farmers to adapt and to develop a new strategy depend and change, and the same depending of the scale, the territory scale, the farmers and the livestock farmers, they are not using at all the same resources for the production. The same, the livestock contribution to the livelihoods are not the same depending of the type of farm. In the different places, we have a large diversity of farm coming from a pastoral extensive farm to the mixed crop livestock farm and to the specialized farm with a housing system. And these different type of farm don't having the same livelihood, livestock contribution to the livelihoods. Finally, we wanted to highlight the importance of linking the livestock strategies to the resilience profile also of the farm. So the researchers are showing that the resilience of the different farms are depending of the resource endowments with the animal assets, the land access, the livestock asset and the labor asset is influencing the resilience of the farm, the capability of the farm to be resilient. But also it depends on the capability of action of the different stakeholders, and this capability of action is depending on the social capitals of the farm and their diversification, the agricultural diversification, the livestock diversification, and the off-farm diversification also. So it's important to take into account the fact that the resilience profile is influencing also the livelihood outcome. And when we apply this framework of resilience to the case of Vietnam, with the national census of Vietnam, we show that the contribution of livestock is depending of the different type of farm. And so for the rural and most diversified farm, the livestock is contributing as a live capital. And
and it's contributing to a way of subsistence for the most remote area and remote farm, thanks to the diversification. And through this study, the colleagues are showing also that the livestock activities is not anymore important for the most aging household or for the farmers in the urban area. Just here, a graph to remind that if we have a look on the past transition of the different livestock farming in Vietnam, we show that the farmers are going from more subsistence livestock farmers to more specialized, concentrated, and modern farms. But it's due to policy reforms, disease crises, and price crises. Applying the same analysis to the dairy farm in Vietnam, the colleagues are showing that the same tendency and transition is going on, coming from subsistence to specialized, concentrated, modernized farm. But in the same territory, there is a coexistence between different types of farms with family farmers, mega farm, and commercialized farm, with a strong importance of the policy orientation, the power relation between the stakeholders, and the dynamic of the market. To conclude, so livestock is a vital role for the rural livelihoods in Asia. Livelihoods depend on income, sure, but also the asset, with an importance of human assets, social assets, natural resources, sure, physical and financial one. But we highlight also the importance of the institution, the reform, the regulation, and the policy framework that shapes the access to these different assets and that can support the resilience of the farm. So livestock systems are central for the rural livelihood, the resilience, the poverty reduction, and the social cohesion, providing diverse goods and services across spatial and temporal scales. So the multifunctional role of livestock are context-specific, shaped by local norms, policies, and access to resource. And so this context-specific need to be taken into account when we think about strategy. So the strategy should be locally tailored, supporting diverse stakeholders and diverse livestock system, supporting the diversification, the risk management, and the equitability to access to the resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melanie, another speaker who kept time very nicely. Actually, you know, the way we organize really to set the scene. So we will not open a lot of time for question after the session. But if you have one or two burning questions from the audience, think about that. I will allow a few questions. That's really at the end of the session. Now, it's really my great pleasure to introduce the third speaker of this morning in the thematic session, Professor Jacob Zinstock from Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute in Basel, Switzerland. So Jacob is one of the, I would say, guru in One Health globally, because for those who work in One Health, Jacob published a lot of papers, a lot of case study across Asia and Africa to show the added value of One Health approach. He worked many years in Africa, in Switzerland, but also in Asia. He's also a member of OLEP, the One Health high-level expert panel set up by the quadripartite, including FAO here, WHO, UNEP, and VOA, and also editor-in-chief of One Health Journal under Gabi's. So Jacob, you can tell us a little bit more about One Health and livestock. And as you are Swiss, I give you 10 minutes, and we will test if the Swiss really keep time in this room. Over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, high authorities, I'm very privileged to talk to you here today. I would like to talk to you about the relationship of animal health and One Health in Asia. It is actually a very tight relationship, and I would like to walk you through the current issues on animal health in Asia, which have already very well been presented. I introduce what we mean really with One Health, because there is a lot of confusion, and I will propose a novel method how to actually bring together health of humans, animals, and the sustainable use of natural resources. I argue this is the first game theoretical approach, which is a mathematical and economic framework that allows to bring all the parts of this complex equation together. And I show you how to apply this to zoonosis control, to sustainable management of natural resources, pandemic prevention, and integrated antimicrobial resistance. So, animal production is pivotal for food security and rural livelihoods. I don't need to rehearse that. But animal health and zoonotic diseases are coupled with the intensification, and in this way they threaten actually the livelihoods, public health, natural resources in an unprecedented way. The past COVID pandemic and also the past and ongoing avian influenza pandemics have origins in Asia. There is ongoing transmission of major zoonotic diseases in Asia. And there are huge issues with biosecurity at the wildlife, domestic animal, human interface. I have stated this already 20 years ago in a paper in Lancet, but we have not learned apparently from it. So, livestock intensification must be careful in the sense that we have to secure the use of natural resources. At the moment, many countries are trapped in what we call a tragedy of the commons, which means we are overusing the natural resources in a way that we cannot come out of it. I will show you examples. But there is a way out of the tragedy of the commons, and I will show it to you. Here I just want to mention one tragedy of the commons, which is the loss of biodiversity. We are about to lose 1 million plants and animals of about 8 million, and this will dramatically change the way we can survive, because we need the biodiversity. Another tragedy of the commons is climate change. I mean, we all fly around like hell and think the others should save carbon, and we just continue to excrete carbon in an unprecedented way. This is a tragedy of the commons, and we have to find a way to self-control us at a planetary scale. Another tragedy of the commons is the antimicrobial resistance problem, where we use antibiotics all over and don't self-limit us ourselves. So what is the way out? One Health has a new definition since 2022, which was proposed by OLEP. The One Health high-level expert panel argues that we should sustainably balance and optimize the health of humans, animals, plants, and the ecosystems. So how do we do that? That's complicated. So we need a framework that can link health of humans, animals, plants, and ecosystems. So we start off with Elinor Ostrom's Governing the Commons. Elinor Ostrom argues that, yes, the tragedies of the commons are real, but not always. We have thousands of communities in the world who manage their natural resources in a sustainable way. And Elinor Ostrom proposes the social ecological system that brings together natural resources, natural resource units, governance systems, and actors. This is the framework where we operate in. And we have expanded the Ostromian system by adding humans as a resource system. By our work, we contribute to the wealth of our nation. This is the human capital benefit. If we are sick or if we die, this human capital benefit is reduced or lost. And in this way, we can bring together the health of humans, animals, and the use of natural resource in one mathematical game theoretical framework. Elinor Ostrom uses a game theoretical framework, but she never added health as or humans as a resource system. So this is the novelty. And we have applied this already to rabies elimination in Africa, and we have essentially two strategies that compete. One is human post-exposure prophylaxis, will save the life of an exposed person, but it will never eliminate the disease. The other strategy is dog mass vaccination. Coordinated dog mass vaccination is the Pareto efficient Nash equilibrium, the dominant strategy to eliminate rabies. And we have demonstrated this in Africa. It means that, for example, if South Africa starts vaccinating, it has to coordinate with all the neighboring countries. And in this way, rabies will not come back. This is what we mean with coordination. And it has a savings of over $10 billion over 10 years. So this is the first example of a game theoretical approach to control problems at the animal-human environmental interface. Currently, we apply this to Mongolia. Mongolia is in a tragedy of the commons. During the socialist period, there were 25 million livestock, not more. Today, there are over 70 million livestock. This is too much. So we have to bring together the balancing of the pasture production, the livestock production, the farmer income, and the health. This is what we are currently doing. And again, we need a game theoretical approach to it. And I argue that this can apply to basically every livestock production system. We don't have to factor in only the farmer livelihood. We have to include the natural resource management, and we have to include the health in the equation. Today, we can do this. The picture that you see here is a stakeholder meeting we had with the herders in Mongolia in February. We need to find a balance between intensification. The 26-story building that you here see here is a home for 600,000 pigs. And on the left side is extensive pig farming in Switzerland. And we have to find a balance between that. We have to improve the biosecurity at the interface of intensive production, transport, and marketing. This is the cauldron of the next pandemic. It is not a question, if it comes, it will come. And we don't know when. And we must improve the biosecurity at these interfaces to prevent the next pandemic. We must bring together the surveillance systems together. At the moment, surveillance of humans and animal diseases are separated. By a One Health governance system, we cannot prevent the next pandemic. But if we inform each other, we can absolutely prevent exposure and reduce the economic burden. This is the way to go. We must work together. It is multilateral cooperation. It applies in the same way to antimicrobial resistance, which we can adapt to that. So I conclude, One Health approaches have a high potential for animal health in Asia, for zoonosis control, sustainable use of natural resources, pandemic prevention, and the reduction of antimicrobial resistance. And it applies also to many pollution-related diseases that we are also bothered with. Thank you very much.
Jacob, come here. I confirm that you are from Switzerland. You have exactly 10 minutes. Thank you very much for the talk. Very interesting talk. So Jacob, all the way, have a very nice way of talking about One Health. And I think that now some of these key messages, I hope that will be heard in Lyon, that the conference, the summit that Tanawat mentioned coming up in a few weeks in France, chaired by Emmanuel Macron, French president. So maybe question to him later, the last one, last but not least. And he's someone from my institute. So I would like to introduce the last speaker of this morning, of this session, Dr. Anthony Whitbread. He's actually from Australia, not far from here compared to going to West Africa. He's leading the program on livestock, climate, and environment at International Livestock Research Institute. Before that, Anthony, you was with ICRISAT in India, another CGIAR center. Long back, he was a scientist at CSIRO in Australia, but also professor in Germany. So you work mostly on crop modeling, climate risk management, spatial analysis, and you will talk with us today about livestock and climate.
Good morning, everyone. So yeah, we've heard a little bit about climate here, not very much so far, and a little bit about environment. So I'm going to put a bit of focus on how we need to consider climate and environment in the design of our livestock systems. And I'll cover something about the climate smart livestock approaches that we're using at ILRI, and how we frame this in the research agenda, and how we put a focus on climate through this agenda. Because I have 10 minutes, I'll go fairly quickly. Now, I've worked in the semi-arid for the last 30 years almost, and I always start my talks talking about climate risk, because farmers are facing and livestock keepers face these risks. Beyond climate, soil fertility is often low. We have expensive inputs, particularly now where we have problems in getting access to inputs. In many geographies, particularly in Africa, we're facing insecurity and theft in livestock systems. We face post-harvest risks, value chain challenges, and as we heard, disease and zoonotic transmissions. But I think this climate risk really plays a big role in overcoming the incentives for farmers, livestock keepers to invest in often technologies that are actually risk reducing. At the same time, livestock systems have this big footprint that we haven't heard much about yet today, but they have this, particularly the ruminants have this big footprint of enteric fermentation producing methane. And our ruminants are producing globally 27% of the methane input footprint. Rice cultivation, which is important in Vietnam, is around 7%. And the manure management in agriculture is around 3%. So there we have just livestock systems alone producing 30% of global methane sources. And you can see from all the figures with livestock demand increasing hugely, we have a bigger footprint coming. The problem with CH4, methane, it's a short-lived, highly potent climate pollutant, and it has a big effect on the global forcing, the global warming impacts leading to higher temperatures that we're seeing. So obviously mitigation strategies as we develop our livestock systems are extremely important. One of the problems we have, and it brings it out again, is that methane is increasing, and this is an example from 2020 to 2050, showing much of the increase is coming from low and middle income countries. In fact, about 80 or 90% of the increase in methane is coming from the environments we're talking about, on business as usual. So the footprint of methane is really an important topic that we need to get on top of. There's a lot of work on looking at mitigation strategies, and I think the mitigation strategies depend on the farming systems that we're talking about. There's a lot of work on intensive commercial systems where we can bring a range of feed supplements into the system, and they're often for commercial systems where you can afford or you can apply these supplements. But in semi-intensive systems, we have to consider a broader range, and these can go from breeding to animal health through to different forages, different systems. And when we start talking about the pastoral systems that many of us in Africa are facing as well, we have these very low input systems, and that's where we have challenges finding solutions for the methane footprint. And these often have to come through things like increasing feeding level, decreasing forage maturity, breeding, animal health, and so forth. At ILRI, we work through this climate smart livestock framing. So we don't consider our science as independent. We don't do our animal health or our genetics or our work on forages, environment or policy separately. These are all part of an integrated approach to developing solutions. And this figure tries to put a climate lens on this climate lens of adaptation and mitigation. So as well as trying to build productive bundled solutions, we're trying to put a focus on the mitigation and adaptation aspects. And in this case, mitigation could be things like increasing carbon sequestration through restoring pastoral systems. It could also be through animal health measures. But at the same time, many of these measures have an adaptation imprint. So we're looking for these kind of co-benefits of an adaptation mitigation strategy that also brings us a production impact. And our focus is these low intensity, semi-intensive systems, these crop livestock systems, and these pastoral systems. None of this really is adoptable until we also consider the supporting, enabling environments of policy, the private sector, and many other aspects that we've heard about this morning. Some quick examples of how we could bring a climate lens to animal health solutions. We talked earlier about vaccinations and animal health. We find that vaccinations and animal health have an emissions impact. We've got figures of 30 to 40% increases in decreases in emissions intensity through better vaccination programs. We've got examples of where getting on top of something like subclinical mastitis in East Africa is actually reducing absolute emissions. So there's some really great opportunities to reduce emissions through low-hanging fruit. There's also this need to manage infectious diseases and these patterns that I think my colleague was talking about as climate changes, and through the modeling approaches and through these predictive approaches. But what we do need is much better baseline data for these kind of approaches as well. There's a whole range of genetic solutions that are not just about increasing production by exploiting existing genetic variation in the dairy herds, for instance. We can already reduce emissions intensity very quickly, and at the same time we can get heat tolerance into dairy herds. So there's some great examples, some great projects that ILRI and its partners are doing right across Southeast Asia and Eastern and Southern Africa, looking at how you can use genomic tools, genomic selection, herd management packages and so forth in exploiting the existing genetic variation in animals to both help them adapt to hotter climates, but also reduce their footprint in terms of methane. There's exciting work going on in animal nutrition solutions. At the moment, we're working to exploit the gene banks that are holding much of the germplasm of forages and feed systems right across South America, West Africa, and East Africa. So the gene banks that are held within the CGIAR are being exploited and looked into. Are there forages that have anti-methogenic characteristics? So we have a large initiative trying to identify those forages and bring them into farming systems. But at the same token, many of our farmers are feeding animals crop residues, and there's a great opportunity to exploit the huge range in digestibility of our existing crops, particularly maize, sorghum, for higher fodder quality. And finally, I'll just give an example of the sort of environmental solutions we also need. And this is a lot of work we do around trying to establish local emission factors and inventories. And by that, I mean trying to get emission factors into the IPCC rules to support these NDCs that countries are signed up to. Particularly in East and Southern Africa, West Africa, we're actually using emission factors that are not produced or defined for the systems that we're working in. So quite a bit of our work is about trying to build knowledge of these systems and these emission factors for local breeds and local farming systems. There's also a huge opportunity, as I said earlier, about trying to restore degraded landscapes and through that sequestering carbon and biodiversity. So as many other speakers have said, there's an urgent transformation of livestock systems needed to support our livelihood, nutrition, climate and environmental challenges. We need to shift the narrative towards these integrated science solutions with these adaptation mitigation co-benefits built into them. Through these initiatives, we're trying to strengthen these north-south and south-south partnerships, build capacity and shape the donor and policy agendas. And I think importantly, the last point is to also strengthen the MRV, this monitoring, reporting and verification that we need for the low and middle income country context, which means local data, local emission factors, models to support that and capacity. I'll just mention in the last 20 seconds, Hung, this Livestock and Climate Solutions Hub. ILRI is leading with CG Partners, this hub that is trying to bring a really practical approach to these sort of solutions I was talking about. So the hub is about trying to filter these solutions for low and middle income country contexts and work with partners to scale them. So the hub has been funded partially by the Balmer Fund, which is a philanthropic gift that we received 2 years ago. And we've been building this coalition to look at all the sorts of solutions that we could draw from right across the livestock systems, whether they're commercial or highly developed, and bring them into the low and middle income country context in this adaptation mitigation approach. So I'll be happy to talk more about the hub at another chance. So thanks, Hung.
Thank you very much, Anthony. You know, I had actually 4 excellent timekeeper my session. Everyone used only 10 minutes, so thank you very much. Stay here. Okay, so I would like to invite all the speakers of this session come over here. You know, Scott, please come over. Jacob, Melanie, but also 2 Assistant Director General, Shirley Tarawali and Tanawas Tensin, please come over. I allow 1 or 2 very short questions. I see 1 there. Okay. I pick only 2. Okay, the first one is Menha from Cambodia. I see you very clearly there. Introduce yourself and ask very precise and short question and to whom you want to address. Microphone, please. Use the microphone for the translation, please. Yeah, or even walk here. You know, if you have a challenge with microphone. Okay, excellent.
Okay, good morning. My name is Beng Ha. I'm from National Animal Health and Production Research Institute, Cambodia. So my question is related to geopolitics. As we can see that geopolitics is beyond our control, but it affecting what we have raised confidently related to One Health and food system transformation or sustainable livestock production. Like in Cambodia, affecting by Cambodia and Thai border conflict, it really affect One Health and food system in Cambodia. And luckily, we work with ILRI to improve one chicken breed, but our chicken breed still safe from the fighting. So in terms of development partner or international agency, what is your opinions related to the effect of geopolitics and role of development partner or international agency to support sustainable livestock transformation and food system in Asia and Pacific?
Okay, thank you very much, Manhat. Very direct question. I don't know who feel comfortable to pick up a little bit, very short, quickly. I would allow 1 minute's response if anyone have any insight for that. I heard about One Health. I heard about development partners. I heard about geopolitics.
Since I'm the one who said geopolitics, I think it's really about what we're trying to do here, and that is to bring everybody together around a common agenda, to use solutions and evidence so that when a national government has those solid plans, like we heard about for Vietnam, for example, you also get, for example, the IFIs interested in investing as well as their own national resources, which don't just mean money. It means the skills and capacities really working together.
Thank you very much. It's very short and sweet. Tanawat, and I need to control the time. 30 seconds.
Okay. When you look at One Health, you're talking about the multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder, multi-ministerial approach to address the complex issues. And that's why the situation of geopolitics, even though much more complex. And that's why I think using this One Health approach, I'm sure that once we talk, once we discuss, we will share a solution together. Thank you very much.
Excellent. This time, Tanawat kept time 30 seconds. Okay, I have one last question. I need to ask you just say your name, affiliation, and go directly to the question because we need to close.
Yeah, this is Dr. Navina Maheshwarappa, Chief Veterinary Officer from India. So I have a question to Tanawat and Anthony Whitbird. See, most of the production system in Asia, it's all low input and our animals are surviving on crop residues, agricultural byproducts, dried hay and all, unlike the temperate countries actually. And much of our system is wet markets, minimal processing and local consumption, local production, less food miles. So what is your perspectives? Even though we have around 58 or 60% of the human population and 50% of the livestock population, so is there any data to show that our production, processing and consumption system has a lower impact on the climate or the environment when compared to the developed nations or those from the temperate countries?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, very much. So he mentioned Anthony and Tanawat. So 30 seconds each, a little bit more.
Thanks for the question. I think the system in Southeast Asia, Africa is often low efficiency. Even though you think it's low food miles, the actual efficiency of the systems are quite low, even compared to the very high-end commercial systems. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to decrease that emissions intensity footprint and increase the adaptation as we get into changing climates. And there's this whole range of technologies that we're not actually using that could be incorporated into these farming systems without a lot of effort. So while we might think we have low footprint, we actually have a very high footprint. Yeah.
Okay, Tanawat, do you have anything to add?
Okay. Think about balance and balancings. If you look at just only emissions, you will hear a lot of noise, a lot of complaints. And that's why the situation like in Asia, in India, in Africa, and that's why if you really look at these issues in the holistic manners, I think sometimes you will have the right balance. But anyway, to answer your questions, I don't want to say that it's low efficiencies, but we know that you have a low input as well. And when you're talking about the emission or carbon footprints or greenhouse gas emissions, it's a life cycle. It's a total life cycle. Once you increase your productivities and efficiencies, when you calculate the emissions per grams or kilogram of your products, it really make it down per unit. And that's why I think this one also, how you present and how you really address this issue. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think that now I would like to invite Boni, our DDG, to come over. Please come. But my long-term friend, he will not be happy if I don't give you his floor. But Dương Nguyên Khang, professor from Nông Lâm University, he's my Vietnamese friend. Go directly to the question, no comment. Short question, please.
Yes,
Just
that
the
is,
last one.
thank you so much about Dr. Hong and on of it's a very overview, very good. But I'm thinking a lot about how to transfer and how to change to the farmers. It's a very good, it's a strategy very good, everything very good, but how to change the farmer, particularly in the smallholder. That is the way about very important. Is you see about the climate change, and then right now for the yield or for the methane mitigation, which is a priority to reduce or to increase about the yield for the farmer particularly in Vietnam.
Okay, that is when taken. So Jacob, may I invite you to address this very quickly? And if time allow, I give Scott 10 seconds, but no, I already talked.
Thank you for this question, and I'm happy you ask it. Here we are all experts in agriculture and livestock production. But the way we have to do our research is by involving the farmers and the authorities in a participatory transdisciplinary process. I have shown you a picture of our stakeholder meeting in Mongolia. This is the way to go. We should not do our research just on our desk alone. We should go to the villages, we should go to the herders, we should talk with them and listen to them. They will give us the solutions.
So Jacob, stay. Now, I want to ask you the last question. You show that we need only 800 million to eradicate rabies in Africa.
Yes.
Why we cannot do it? People die, very often by rabies. Short and sweet answer.
I don't know why, but we cannot do anything else than showing the benefit-cost ratios of different strategies. That's why we need a game theoretical approach. We need to compare different strategies and find this Nash equilibria. And I hope we can convince Bill Gates to give us 1 billion of his 200 left, and then we will do it. I mean, this is not utopia because Africa has eliminated rinderpest in 2011, and we can just repeat it with rabies.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Okay, sorry, Scott, we need to go. Bonnie, I would like to honor you to hand over the token of appreciation to all our speakers of this session.
Thank you, Hung. It would be my honor to appreciate our esteemed presenters in this session.
And Felix, please come join for a group photo at the end. Thank you very much, everyone, for the attention. Now you will have plenty of time for discussion during lunch, but in particular for several working groups, we will divide you in different groups, and that's really the good venue for you to interact with speakers and raise a lot of good questions like we are having today. Okay, very good. So afterward, we have a very last group photo. Stay together for a good photo. Organizer, please, we want to have a group photo with this group. Okay, group photo. Me too. Okay, please stand on the front. Felix, Joy, Jacob from the other side. Thank you so much. Thank you so much on the speaker. Thank you very much for the attention. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Okay, thank you very much for the very informative sessions. Thank you all the distinguished speaker and facilitator. And I just have a quick announcement before you have a tea break. Here we have a QR code, and please scan the QR code so that we can you will be assigned into different group work this afternoon and tomorrow. So please kindly scan it, and after that you will have a tea break. Thank you so much for your. Pardon? Michael? Oh, sorry. Technical team, please share another one. The session 3, not this one. Sorry, just a minute. Just wait a minute. Chiếu lại cái 3 em. Cái số 3. Yes, after you scan the QR code and you will have a 10 minutes for tea break. Please get back to the room by 11:25. Sorry, because we are behind the time, so you just have 10 minutes for relax. Please, I will keep the QR code here on the screen during the tea break, so you can scan it later as well. But please make sure that you scan the QR code to ensure that you will be in one of the group this afternoon and tomorrow. Thank you. Yes. Đúng rồi.
choose them. Because if we, yeah.
Everyone, you can see on the screen is the correct QR code for the group work. So please have scan it. Yeah. Yes, please be seated and scan the QR code on the left screen. Yeah.